All right. All right. I just want to start the stream out by just apologizing for being late today. I had a multitude of annoying things come up in the last couple of hours. But just to add insult to injury, we will have been gifting a tier 1 sub to the community to G. Christiansen. Thank you, Move 11. Dude, I'm going to just start doing like a mocking of blogs. I mean, you guys got to see this. I mean, this is too stupid. Seriously, today on lichess, check this guy out. How to Beat Stronger Players, Part 2. And this player's handle is MM Sanchez Chess. Who is this guy? Max Gadajovic. I'm an experienced chess coach with expertise in openings, middle game plans. Seriously, who is this guy? Where did he come from? I mean, but dude, are you for real? Are you for real? Level up your chess and crash through those rating plateaus? Dude, what a joke, man. I mean, this is like how to beat stronger players. I'll give you right away. I'm going to show you guys how to beat stronger players. Don't pay attention to these moronic blogs by these like scam artists like this guy who got their titles in a cereal box or whatever. How to Beat Stronger Players, that's a blog. That's seriously a blog. How to beat stronger players. There's 2 ways to beat stronger players. I'm going to tell you guys right now the secret. All right? For free. And he's got really cool, like, artistry on his little blog things there. There are 2 ways to beat stronger players. Okay? One is to get better at chess. And the second way to beat stronger players is to cheat. And that's it, man. There's only 2 ways to do it. There's the easy way and the hard way. You can get better at chess, or you can cheat, like Hans Niemann. No, the other one is even better. Why chess books don't work. This guy is such a clown, dude. Seriously, check raise mate. He puts his own picture. I love this. He constantly puts his own pictures on the blogs. This, like, nobody FIDE master guy. And seriously, why chess books don't work. So we should read your blogs because chess books don't work. Books are the traditional way to pass on chess knowledge. How helpful are they really? Why books don't work? Books for basketball. Books versus YouTube. Dude, are you serious? This guy is he's such like a disgusting sort of scammer. I mean, it's just sickening. And now the effort pain improvement cycle in chess. This guy is probably the most annoying of them all. The Noel Studer guy, seriously? It's sickening and disgusting. I love this one. But I'm unique mentality in chess blogging. That's what I want to do. What I want to do is like bust this guy. I told you guys, I saw him at a tournament. He's some rich kid from Switzerland who, I don't know, his dad is like an arbiter or something. He's had everything handed to him on a silver platter. Now he's like the blogger-in-chief of stupid blogs. But the I'm unique mentality in chess, it's like the I'm unique mentality in chess bloggers. Like, nobody wants to read your crappy, like, self-help, fake bullshit, What is this bullshit, dude? Why are you even playing chess? I mean, it's just ridiculous. It just makes me angry. I don't want to see this crap, dude. I joined lichess, seriously, because I don't want to see advertisements. And all I get, advertisement for Noel Studer, advertisement for this, advertisement for the Kazakhstan Cup, advertisement for Check Raise Mate, who's just absolutely nobody. And then I think of all the bloggers, I've seen like one who actually has thoughtful content. I love that one too, Mr. Slow. This one, where is that guy? Seriously, this is just really good artwork, but other than that, dude, I think that it's the dumbest thing I ever saw. How to beat stronger players. How to beat stronger players, by definition, is a stupid ass content for a blog. Oh, okay. Now we're going to tune in and see how to beat stronger players. When are you following up with like how to beat weaker players? You think it's AI now? Yeah, probably AI artwork as well. That way, you know, it's not like. But the check raise mate guy, Noel Studer. I didn't join lichess to see this crap. You know, I mean, it's just really. I know that I'm not the greatest chess coach in the world, but I'm not a snake oil salesman, and I just can't stand these people with this fake, totally fake bullshit. How to beat stronger players. That's really a blog title. You have a system for beating stronger players. I'll keep that in mind. And then the other one, why chess books don't work. So by definition, if chess books don't work, why do your blogs work? Because your blogs are just like kind of like a short form of a chess book. It's written information about chess. So your blogs work, but chess books don't work. You're basically making blogs for like morons who aren't capable of reading books. Is that what you're saying? Everybody need the one good chess book to initiate your chess journey. Dude, these guys, I just don't understand on a platform where the whole premise of the platform is supposed to be like no advertising. Why do I have to see the shit when I log onto the site on the front page? Put the blogs in the back where I don't have to see, their AI generated artwork. And I don't mind if there's something like a fundraiser, even the Kazakhstan Cup or whatever. It's advertising, but I'll accept it. But these self-help promotion guys, it's just sick, dude. Get a life, you know. Teach chess. Make some real content, not just like the self-help, fake self-help, attention-grabbing bullshit, and do it, you know. Do it on chess.com. I mean, seriously, but don't pollute like the only good chess site with this crap. These guys are just disgusting. Anyway, I just needed to get that out of my system. Then we're going to get to any other good blogs we can mock? Vinay India. Please analyze. Well, if you are a subscriber to the stream, do you think you could submit like a longer game? Vinay India, are you a subscriber? I was stunned by the Noel Studer, and they're just disgusting, dude. Him and the check raise mate guy. Why chess books don't work. You seriously wrote a blog called that. And the other one is just painful to read it. The effort pain improvement cycle in chess. Why it's worth it. I'd rather play Russian roulette than read that, dude, seriously. If you gave me a choice between the two. It's just unbelievable. Speaking of effort and pain. Alright. But that's enough blog mucking today. I'm just gonna start doing this till maybe like somebody will hear me and take it down. I just can't take it anymore, dude. These blogs are painful to look at, and nobody should be like forced to see. I mean, I've thought about writing a blog, you know. I mean, but I wouldn't want to like do something crappy like that, like these guys, man. It's just blatantly done to try to get attention, and this is not the place for it. Like, lichess is a place for playing chess, without ads, you know. And this is nothing but one big commercial. These are nothing but one big commercials, dude. I have to see it every time. Otherwise, I wouldn't mind, but I have to see it every time I log onto the site. It's just in my face, you know, the stupid picture of whatever, this guy's face. It just drives me crazy, dude. And he's just absolutely nobody. Whatever. All right. So we're gonna learn, because chess books don't work. These are just about making money for these guys. You know, they're not teaching anybody anything. How to beat stronger players. That's a good one. Tell me the secret. Do you like cheat, or do you get better at chess? Because those are your options. I was in a really bad mood, but it was therapeutic. It was cathartic to do this Blagmaching. I'm sorry I'm late, guys, but I had Degenerate Gambler delay me from today's stream. All right, study, learn, study. My studies I contribute to. Blah blah blah. All right, so this is not a blog. Mr. Slow, we've got up first Ibares, who's not here tonight. ABC FIGM, I don't know if he's here. Ben Larson versus Spassky was submitted by Uber Driver. I wasn't sure if he intended that to be submitted. Mule Scanner has a game. Morales has a game. Chapter 8 is empty. What was Chapter 8 supposed to be? I think you need to blog. You'll have your platform here, but it's up to you. Dude, I'm making fun of other people's blogs. I'm going to open myself up to a lot of criticism if I start blogging. The only thing I might blog is like a critique of other blogs. Maybe I can start a blog review blog, making fun of how much... I can start a blog review blog making fun of other bloggers and how stupid their ideas are. I should probably do that on YouTube, though, to be honest. This is not the platform for it. Chess blog review. These guys are just slugs, man. I've always hated, like, snake oil salesmen, Lev Albert, Susan Polgar, you know. And they can be good players, but they're still snake oil salesmen. They don't have any content, just like junk and soft, you know, watered down, baby level, like, teachings that anybody who was like 2100 could develop. Just so they can sell, you know, expensive books or videos or whatever. Just because you're a good player doesn't mean you're not a snake oil salesman. There are some good players like Jeremy Silman who are really, really quality chess content creators, and others like Lav Albert and Susan Polgar who just produce garbage, you know, so they can make money. It doesn't have to do with, like, you know, the rating of the player. These guys might be grandmasters or FMs or IMs or whatever, but they're still producing, like, diarrhea level content. It looks good on the surface, but it's just hollow, and who cares about it, you know? Anyway, I just wanted to get that out of my system. Resonance Spectre, I think the Chapter 8 didn't go through. That was supposed to be Resonance Spectator. Thanks. So I'd like to submit this game for today's analysis stream. Okay, why did the game not take? I did a copy-paste. I thought I did a copy-paste. Lichess install app. No. Where the heck is my... Maybe it's in Firefox. Oh, shit. It was in the other... Oh, we can do this again. Alright. Chapter PGN. Open. Show in folder. Then we can open it... shit. Why does it say lichess study? Oh, because it's with Mr. Slow. Poor Mr. Slow. Alright. I just want an open folder. Right click. No. Dude, what is it doing? I want to right click. What is going on? Open with Notepad. There we go. I'm going to do a blog on computer use and how to use Notepad. Okay. Copy. Oh my god. Copy. I just hit my NVIDIA. Tools, analysis board, paste. I'm gonna need a beer. I've had two like very stressful like situations so far tonight already. Damn it! It's still not in there. What the heck? What the heck, dude? Tools, analysis board. What is going on, bro? I'm not clicking like import PGN. Is that what happened? I did it twice? I think I did it. It's not going through. Where are the moves? You guys see this? Watch this. It happened 3 times. What? They're like disappearing when I go to copy it. At this rate, we're not going to analyze any games tonight. Just do Blagmacher. You got a second game. Bonus. We'll try to add a new chapter. Maybe if I put it in here, it'll work. There we go. Alright, that works. And now, we had another player who I don't know if they're a subscriber or not. Can somebody remind me? This new player, Vinay, are they actually a subscriber to the stream or not? And that's the longest... I think that's the longest PGN I ever saw. Maybe. Are you in? Are you in the chat? Is he a subscriber? We will find out. I can't just like analyze all the viewers' games, or we'd have like a million games. You have to be a subscriber. All right. So we're awaiting subscribership for him. He's provisional. Learn, study. Is this gonna work? Study. If I go directly to the study and add a chapter to it, studies I contribute to, blah, 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 there, 28th. Yes, add a new chapter, yes, put it in here, paste, it should work, there it goes. All right, so that is provisional on Vinay being a subscriber. Mr. Slowhand Grind just made him a subscriber, so there we go. That was easy. You're lucky today, man. Mr. Slow is here with the quick draw. All right, let's see. We got... Notepad, close. I really needed to vent my frustrations about these blogs, but really there was more to it. I had a very annoying conversation with my chess team captain earlier, about an hour and a half ago. Kind of argument / unpleasant confrontation with team captain, and then a degenerate poker player was begging me for money. So I had 2 very unpleasant interactions, like right before I was supposed to start the stream tonight, back to back. Sandwich in by like an acerbate lesson, which is always, Mr. Slow, I can make you second. I can make you first. You'll be second. We can do Yabatis first. Mr. Move 11, it's not 32 days to World Senior. It's actually like 25 days to World Senior. Do the math. I messed up when I set that up, and I tried to edit it, but you can't edit it. I cannot change the ending date for the donation thing. Unfortunately, I thought I could, but it won't let me. So in reality, the World Senior starts on the 25th of October. So that's not more than... Well, that's only like 27 days or something. Approximately 27 days. So, the World Senior, we just got a donation, a big one, from Move 11. The big one, $25. For Blagmacher. Mr. Blagmacher. I should make like a funny handle. Blagmacher. It sounds like a real name. It sounds German. It could be German, right? Blagmacher. We need a first name though. If my last name is Blagmacher, what's my first name? Alter ego. Stanley Blagmacher. Can you guys help me come up with a Christian name for my family name, Blagmacher? Something good. All right, we'll start with Yabatis game against Leon de Forma. Oh, by the way, Yabatis really kindly invited me to Denmark to play in a tournament, but I told him I can't go because I've got the World Senior. He invited me to come and stay and play in a weekend tournament there in Esbjerg, which is really kind. But unfortunately, it starts like the 20th of October, and I'm going to be getting ready for the World Senior, which starts on the 24th. So Ibadas isn't here tonight. He had somewhere he had to go. But I just want to thank him. You know, that's a kind offer, and I appreciate it. I would take him up on another time. Sensei, speaking of whiskey and beer, I'm thirsty. Don't have a game this week. Can I also request a great blog someone decided to publish? You want a blog? You want Blagmacher? Blog mocking, or do you have a blog for us to mock? Dieterich Blagmacher. I like it, man. Dieter S. Blagmacher. Well, yeah, that's a tournament with tradition, right, Mule Skinner? I guess that's where Ibadas is from. So anyway, he's white here. We've got e4, c5, knight f3. It's interesting. He was preparing for his club game, and he normally doesn't play e4. And now he was preparing to play e4 for this game in his club, and I guess this was just a game he played online. He had been preparing to play the Kopek system, and his opponent surprised him by playing the modern defense. And this was yesterday. We looked at his game from the club, and he won, but I guess he wasted his preparation in the Kopek Sicilian. Now, I expected him to play bishop d3 here. I'll be right back, guys. Mr. Slow is second. I have to get a glass. But I hope you enjoyed Trick S. Blagmacher. Right back, guys. We're almost ready. We'll be right with you in a second, Danny. Hello everybody, welcome back. Yes. Hello, I'm Dieterich. And this is This is my new stream. I'm from the Black Forest in Germany. My name is Dieterich Blagmacher. Yeah, I know I have a weird accent. Okay. Yeah, I live in the Black Forest. We do great blogs here. Okay, the Copex system. I don't know what kind of accent I have. It sounds a little Scottish, Indian. Maybe, but I have a German hat. Let's see. Alright, seriously. Dieterich S. Blagmacher from the Black Forest. Okay, yes. Tannenbaum and all that. Okay, we got the Copex Sicilian. Yeah. I can't keep this up. Alright. But Dieterich, we gotta work on the Dieterich persona. I like his hat and glasses though. I can't keep it up. Alright. Anyway. So I can't do that. It was funny while it lasted. Kopek Danny. Kopek Danny versus Luigi Maxim. This is what we expected. Rip Danny Kopek. I like Danny Kopek respected me for my outside the box style. Danny was a little arrogant, difficult to work with. We did some commentary together, but he was alright. He was kind of a jerk, but also reasonable. Alright, anyway. So, respect for the dead. C3. This is no longer the Copex Sicilian. This is a C3 Sicilian. Black plays now E5. And honestly, this move is like some kind of deja vu for me. Does anybody remember? Did German stream now? I can't do a good German accent. I don't speak German. I don't have enough practice. I'll have to practice this persona off stream. Dieterich S. Blagmacher. And the Germans will get all angry. It actually has nothing to do with Germans, just Blagmacher. You know, it could be Austrian, maybe, or Swiss for that matter. We've got E5 though. I'm having deja vu because I swear, didn't we have a game where we saw someone play this the other day? Someone with black, Mr. Slow. Was it you? Sensteg? Was it Mr. Slow? Didn't you play like the same thing the other day? Dieterich S. Blagmacher. The Blagmacher variation. So there's two good ways to try to bust this. Try, being the active word. One of them is bishop c4, which is obviously like a good Joko piano. And the other one is you try to crack it directly with the Scotch, Scotch d4. So naturally, this isn't going to like refute black setup. I mean, while it's not a terrible move, obviously, and also, I think like bishop b5 isn't really that appropriate either. I mean, you're basically, you really want to have this bishop on the diagonal here. Bishop c4 is good. d4 is good. And I think you can flip a coin as to which one is better. If you want to be really weird, you could probably play like b4 or something, and play a deferred wing gambit. But all right, bishop d3, knight f6, bishop c2. It's just a weird way to go about getting the Kopeck Sicilian. G6. Now, interesting moment here. I mean, obviously, like d5 is the go for it move. Would be principled. There's a game here with d5. I mean, d5 would kind of ask White the question about, like, well, didn't you wish you played bishop c4 now? Despite the fact, and I'm drinking Staropramen, by the way. No German beer tonight. It's established in Prague. Czech beer. So, I understand d5. And alternatively, black doesn't have to play d5. If black does play d5, you might be like, wow, that's stupid. It opens up the diagonal for the bishop on c2. But on the other hand, I mean, if this is to happen, in exchange for opening up this bishop on c2, I mean, black has really good central control here. Very dominant presence in the center. So I really don't think this is that great for White. I'm not even sure I really want to exchange that pawn on d5, to be honest. Anyways, bishop c2, g6. It's not a bad move, probably. g6, you do a kingside fianchetto with a solid sort of formation. And now Ubatis plays d4. So this is interesting, isn't it? I don't want to spend forever on this beer. I mean on this game, sorry. Where's Dr. Freud? We don't need Dr. Blagmacher, we need Dr. Freud to analyze why I'm saying I don't need to spend too much time on this beer. What the heck? I had like, you know, some similar setup we were talking about with Dieterich years ago where Mark was fond of playing like e takes d and then, you know, d6 and bishop g4, but black doesn't even have, first of all, black doesn't even have d6 in, so bishop g4 is not a thing yet. But ultimately it could be. You know, I think opening this bishop on g7 is not a bad thing for black overall. We'd rather have our knight on e7 so it doesn't get hit by the pawn coming to e5. There's a strong move, for example. So that takes us so black can go knight e7 and have a good Ross-Salimo position. Well, I think in this type of structure, yeah. I mean, bishop e5 doesn't scare me. You know, bishop c4 is better. Black's weaknesses are on this diagonal. But anyway, I don't know here what black should do. I mean, keeping the center with like d6 looks like kind of a bad Lopez. But I guess it's not that bad. What about the ending? You know, White just simply exchanges pawns. This has got to be better for White. I mean, come on. Takes, queen takes d8, check. If you take with the knight, White has knight c5, and then if you take on e4, maybe White has like a desperado, right? We should have a desperado. Knight takes something. Knight takes f7. Knight takes f7. Bishop takes e4. I have bad news, like White is up a pawn. So I don't think that's an option. I mean, black has to take with the king, and now, you know, you have a symmetrical structure with a hole on d5, your king in the center, and it doesn't look good. So this is a situation where that exchange would be very strong in the event of d6. So I don't think that black really has a choice. He probably has to take twice on d4. So he plays c takes d4. You know, alternatively, e takes d4, e takes d4, d6 is probably just as bad. So he has to take twice on d4, and that's what he did. Now, we have an interesting possibility of e5, but then I guess knight to g4 might be okay for black. So what do? We take. And now we have, again, desperados. So black's king is still in the center. The e-file is dangerous. Without calculating too much, I would wager that black should castle, which is what he did. And now White has time. Oh, this is really familiar now, man. I've seen this game already. It feels like. Yeah, Mr. Slow's game from the other day was something really close to this. Somebody's game from the other day. That was Mr. Slow I'm thinking of. Remember? It was like knight takes c6, b takes c6. You got that structure in the center where you were black. Out of a similar central sort of sequence of exchanges, Mr. Slow. Maybe Mr. Slow's not here because he asked me to do his game second. But okay, now I anticipated white playing knight c3. But maybe yeah. No, I mean this is a problem. White is a little bit behind in development, you know. Knight times c6. Times. Let's mock G-Souths for saying times. That sounds like something we would have said in the 80s in the United States when I was like 12 years old. I'm probably guilty of saying that at one point. Never really heard a European say that. It must be his AI. Times. Knight equals c6. Because you capture, you write X on the score sheet, I understand. Knight times. Knight multiplied by c6. But, you know, you understand, G-Souths, that is a positional mistake, right? When we do that in the Scotch or whatever, we're not only, like, helping black trade and capture toward the center, controlling d5, but we're also like fixing his pawn structure. Now he has hanging pawns instead of an isolated pawn. Or he can take the other way with a less dynamic position. White remains with the central advantage. But I think this move is too slow. Ultimately, I think this is going to prove to be too slow for white. Our Kopeck Sicilian is slow already. We've spent, 2 tempi on maneuvering the bishop to c2. And black is ready to play d5. And d5 is probably, well, the only move here. What's up? What was our intention on d5? Do we try something tricky with bishop f4? Do we just take it and then... What exactly is going on? You could play, for example, pawn takes, hope for queen takes, play knight c7, force him to trade queens, get the open file, force him to play like rook b8, and then hope you can do something with that rook on b8. But even this isn't that clear because there's some complications. I don't trust this 100%, and plus black can take with a knight. My instinct is that black is okay. But this is kind of weird, huh? d6. That can't be right, master. And Yabatis can obviously like take the pawn, but that would be too mundane. Sorry I'm so sarcastic tonight. The blogs just set me off. How to beat stronger players. The secret. No. See, that's the problem. He's like, how to beat stronger players, part 2. You gotta come up with a better title, dude. You got the AI artwork, the cool hat. What you need is like the secret to beating stronger players. The secrets. You need more clickbait. Beating stronger players by definition requires that you just be a better player. It's not that hard. You see, that's always the people trying to trick you into thinking like there's some easy way to get better at chess. It's just a lie. d6, bishop f4. Now what about the b2 pawn? I like the fact that bishop f4 develops, but I would prefer to play knight to c3 first. if I have to choose. This covers this. Knights before bishops. You're still on d6, and then in the fact, you know, if knight e8, then we bring out the reserves. I mean, probably black can kind of hang on here, but white has the upper hand. But I still think he could just simply take the pawn with knight takes d6. Anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on this. Ibanez isn't even here. The art of adjusting your pieces. How to beat stronger players. Intimidate them by screwing your pieces in. Okay, knight e8 now. Now he basically transposes to the position I was just showing. That's funny. He completely transposes knight c3, knight e5. Yeah, I mean, black could play bishop e5 as well. But, I mean, if you ask me, like, I'd rather sacrifice a pawn than passively defend. Knight e5. White just has a structural advantage and a slight development advantage after knight e8 now. So what to do? Prophylaxis, h3, it's slow. Black has a threat of knight here in some positions. What about the missing link? You know, the bishop that meant to be on this diagonal the whole time. What would Danny Kopech say about that? I think he would agree with me. This bishop, I like bishop b3. If our knight gets kicked, it gets kicked. It goes back to d4, no problem. But this is like a Sicilian now. Well, I guess it was always like a Sicilian, but okay. Here, a6, the other knight falls back. I was expecting knight c3. He doesn't do it, though. Now he goes to d4. Perfectly okay, I guess. My only issue with this is that it blocks the d file. Bishop d7. I was expecting knight c4 here, and then h3. Okay, this is a normal prophylactic move. A bit slow. Rook c8, and then finally bishop c4. Sorry, bishop e3 controlling c4 and getting to the right diagonal. Now this is the only like aggressive move that black really has, but he goes there. You know, this is weak. But maybe white ultimately made a mistake, you know, not putting the knight on c3. If the knight is on c3, black really doesn't have much going on here. Now white has to make some sort of concession. He doesn't want to take on c6 and allow this. I would probably play bishop e3 if I were white here, reluctantly. Instead, he plays knight f3, which leaves the b2 pawn unprotected. And now it's just like kind of hope chess. King h2. I think this game deserves a blog. Probably Noel Studer, Grandmaster Noel Studer and International Master, whatever that guy's name is, and FIDE Master Check Raise Mate could write a very instructive blog about this move. How to beat a stronger player. Trick him into taking the exchange on a1. Not. Tobias was sitting there and he was like, I'd really like to sack the exchange, but what waiting move do I have? Yeah, king h2 is kind of arbitrary. If you must sacrifice the exchange, I think rook e1 is an idea. But you have to remember to be like, oh shit, I forgot my rook was hanging. Do that. Don't forget to do the oh shit, I forgot my rook was hanging in the chat. Or if you're playing over the board, make sure you like hammer your hand on the table. Ah, damn it. If it's a poker tournament, you pretend you meant to call instead of raise. That's a great trick. No one has ever seen that before. The other day I min raised. I was, oh, I meant to call. Sorry. Okay, well I guess it's a raise. King h2. Not really a constructive move. On the plus side, if he takes the rook, you take with the queen. Maybe your rook really didn't do anything on e1 anyway. So ultimately, like seriously, I was thinking this rook might be better on d1 at the end of the day, if you must sacrifice the exchange here. I do think like sacrificing the exchange is a reasonable thing to do in a fast game. But king h2 is borderline, it's borderline like absurdly random. With black, I'd be kind of like, you know, what are you doing? So now bishop g5, refusing to save his exchange. If this guy's not going to take it, I don't know. All right, f6. Now it's like, I wish I had taken the exchange if I'm going to play f6. I don't know if he had a choice, though. And finally, like, you talked him into taking the exchange. All right, if you insist on making me take the exchange, I'll take the exchange. The alternative for black here is like bishop a3, not great. Or obviously like bishop e5 check. I think at this point, black really ought to take the exchange. And it's not with the queen you're recapturing, pressurizing f6. Rook takes is not really constructive. This is a practical exchange sacrifice, but not really correct, obviously. And I'm sure that Yabatis knows that. I got rid of the complete Peerts and Tigers Modern today. The complete Peerts, wait. Do you remember when, oh, the Modern doesn't work? I don't know, man, about that, but Peerts Alert by Chernin. That was a Lev Albert production. Although I think that the Chernin's material was real. Just that he marketed through a scam artist. I have John Nunn's old Pierce book, but Chernin, the presentation was of Albert, but I think the material was actually good. Unlike other Albert stuff, which is basically Albert writes books where he's like just trying to like sell books to rich amateurs or something. Knight d4, bishop f7, queen f4, and then f6 is tragically weak here. Looks like white has pretty good compensation. I guess we have no choice but to take on d5. Take on d5, bishop takes d5, check. Oof, that's not good. The other day I said, is this a fianchettoed bishop? Can that count as a fianchettoed bishop? No, John Nunn is a great, you know, he's a great real deal, man. We know John Nunn is the real deal. And we're not going to question, you know, speaking of like Blagmacher from Germany, we're not going to question like Robert Hubner, the authenticity of his work as an analyst. But John Nunn, yeah, who needs chess books anyway? What good are chess books? It's hard to believe that man lives in the same world as these noobs writing blogs on lichess.org. I feel like reporting them for like peddling fake information. Queen f4, knight h5, queen e3, knight g7. Okay. This game is pretty random. To be fair to Tobias, or Tobias, I don't know how you like to pronounce it. Toby. So queen e3, knight g7. This is like, black is a weird player, man. He just likes playing knight g7. He made the same moves with the same pieces like 10 times. I don't know what happened, but it doesn't look good. Black finally lost the piece. Whew. Yeah, it's an ugly situation. You were concerned about black playing g5 at some point. Black, you know, played reasonably until maybe like this point. I thought when white played queen f4, we've got kind of major alert going on. Probably his knight h5 was reasonable. He could always give back the exchange. Black is up a pawn and the exchange, so giving back the exchange is not a problem. Having knight on h5 isn't great. King h2 looks good now, because you have g4. So, I really don't know what to suggest at this point. Black just went back, and then white played knight f3, which wasn't really necessarily that dangerous. And then black just randomly plays knight c4. Like, why? You know? Why does he play knight c4 now? I mean, 20 moves ago it was good, but at this point now we've grabbed the exchange, we need to consolidate. I guess he just wanted to blunt this bishop on b3. Go back. Okay, knight d2. Still white's not making progress, or is he? So you're talking about g5. This might be a moment. Move 11's suggestion of g5. It's obviously not going to solve all of black's problems, but it's probably better than getting blasted by f4 with no answer, you know, which is basically what happened. Still, maybe even now, play g5 and give the exchange back. Black's still up a pawn here at the end of the day to compensate for his uncomfortable, like, defensive position. What's the engine say? Look, it's like practically equal. First time I've turned on the engine here. Computer prefers to just keep the exchange though with rook e8 and says that black is better. A little greedy for my taste, but anyway. All right, guys. Now it's time for Mr. Slow. Time for Mr. Slow. That was a pretty random game submitted by Ubatis there. I had trouble concentrating. I had a really stressful night, and we're just slowly getting back to getting my adult onset attention deficit disorder under control here. This is Mr. Slow playing white against another even younger guy. Last guy got pretty slaughtered, man. I have to say. Hold on a second. Alright, sorry for the slow start. I'm going to try to get through the rest of these games now. Alright, so this is serious. This is Mr. Slow. You're back. Ever looked at 25 annotated games by Robert Hubner? I'm sure there's some instructive material, but I was never serious enough about chess to do that, Mr. Slow. You need to really talk to a professional chess player. I'm just a glorified amateur. Alright. I think there's probably some some good analysis in there. But that's like asking like a high school physics student if they've studied any good Einstein lately. Alright, Mr. Slow. Let's hope this guy puts up more resistance than the last victim. And he should get some good money, but I'm afraid he's not selling enough copies. Obviously, my point is Mr. Hubner is not out to, like, you know, Jonathan Spielman, another one. These guys are not out to, like, scam people for their money. They love chess, and they're great chess players who analyze chess to death, you know. They're not trying to make it more exciting, because it's already exciting for them. We don't have to cheapen chess. It's cheap enough already. All right, e4, e6, d4, d5, knight c3, knight f6, bishop g5. Man, I bet it's hard work, man. I've never. I mean, none is also pretty deep, but not to the level of Hübner's. I mean, I used to study games in the chess informants, and in a lot of cases, they're pretty heavy-duty analysis in there. Like, if people like Hübner did individual games, let's say, the McCutcheon. Jesse Cry really got into the McCutcheon for a while. I don't know where it stands today, these days, but I was analyzing Pillsbury games because I never really studied Pillsbury's games, and there was one game where Pillsbury played kind of surprising line, like e5, h6. You know how today people play usually like bishop d2, occasionally bishop e3, but Pillsbury played bishop h4. I frankly, I didn't even know this was like a variation. I'm such a noob in terms of knowledge of the French defense, because for me it's just like, this is basically like the worst thing that can happen to your bishop, like it ends up on g3. But honestly, it's actually an interesting line. Pillsbury's not crazy. And this is a game from like 1897. I'm going off piste here. I know this has nothing to do with Mr. Slow's game, but I just want to mention it while we're here. Even as a chess player who's been playing chess for almost 40 years, I've never looked at this stuff. My surface analysis is always like, yeah, the bishop's dead, but is it? Because like Pillsbury's idea would be like very long term. That is it dead if ultimately we're able to like crack it open with h4? There's a chance that bishop can get in there. Or obviously if black captures it with the knight, it's not a problem. So I thought, my thought was like, maybe there's more to this than I thought, Maybe this isn't such a stupid idea. And look at the score, it's actually pretty okay for white. So just a thought, like, don't assume things. I have that experience in the semi-Slav with my bishop getting the g3, getting shut down by my own pawn on e5. I had some nightmare games where I was like, it never saw the light of day. So I just wanted to point this out, But anyway, another younger guy plays the capture, and this is a good line for black. I think objectively, probably the McCutcheon isn't that reliable. So, most people would say like bishop e7 is the main line. But if you look at the opening explorer, it's actually no longer. But Rubinstein really should get credit for this. And it's important to understand that this is a lot better for black than the Rubinstein. What they call the Rubinstein variation. Really, Rubinstein liked to play this Bern variation. I think this is the Bern variation, but it's better. It's justified because the bishop's on g5. We want to get white's bishop with black. So the main line is bishop e7, and then this is only for chickens. Or grandmasters who want to draw with each other. That's pathetic. You have to take with the bishop, and then it's a dynamic position. This is very sharp. I think this is a great example of double-edged position for both sides, where both sides can play for a win. I remember preparing. I've told the story before, but I rarely play against the French. But I had to play against Sedlak, who played the French, and he played this variation. And I very seriously considered playing it with white. But after looking at a lot of high-level games, I just came to the conclusion that it's Black has tons and tons and tons of resources here. Nobody could make headway against Sedlak. In the games that I saw, he was really hard to beat him. So objectively, this is definitely Black's best shot. I don't know anything about this. This is transposing to the Rubinstein variation, right? That can't be good. Mr. Coffee. Rubinstein variation, not as good as the Bern variation. So I think bishop e7 is called for. Move 11. I had this game with Uber Driver yesterday in the tournament where we agreed to a draw because it was the end of the tournament. I looked at all my games last night. I made fun of Uber Driver for playing the Rubinstein variation. He played the Fort Knox. And we transposed to Leko Sarawon. It was 15 or 16 moves in. The Uber Driver, I think Uber Driver improved on Sarawon. Very slightly. There was this epic game where Leko beat Sarawon. Could you imagine a more just boring matchup, right? But Leko just pummeled him with computer accuracy. But it's hard to improve on Sarawon, but still. The Fort Knox sucks. The Rubinstein in general isn't very good. But I think the Bern variation is a different story. The bishop e7 is okay. But this transposes back into Rubinstein, and it's just who plays this, Dragan Kosic, my friend, and George Meyer, but George Meyer is very, 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 very accurate, and I don't know what he's thinking. He can play this shit, but it's not for the average player, man. And I don't think it's a great practical idea. Knight f3 and now h6. So knight f6. Normally we play knight f6. Uber Driver improved on Sarawon. Knight f6, knight f6, bishop e3. I've looked at this with move 11 and other people. I played bishop e3 against Kosic, I think. The idea is to induce knight d5 and go back here to d2. We've looked at this. There's Leko again. You found it hard to play far away with Black. No shit, man. The Queen's Gambit declined French defense repertoire in general. The solid... That should be that guy's next blog. How to beat stronger players with the French defense and Queen's Gambit declined as Black. And then you should put the picture of a loaded gun on the cover of the blog with a cylinder with just one bullet in it so I could shoot myself, man. It's just whatever. It's just ridiculous. I don't understand my own jokes anymore. But anyways, Mr. Slow played bishop takes f6. I don't even know what the cow opening is. It is, but it's obviously something that... did you guys know there was... there are cow... It's a big trend now on YouTube, cow vigilantes in India. There's these vigilantes who hunt down cow killers. Indian Hindu cow vigilantes hunt down cow killers and put them at gunpoint on video. and beat them up and stuff. I'm not sure how that content really like works on YouTube, but yeah, for real, Mr. Coffee, look it up. Cow Vigilantes. And they've got like, one guy's got like 100,000 viewers. You get like a silver 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. Pretty serious. We're getting up there. That's like Gotham chess level. But bishop takes f6, man. I'm surprised if Check Raise Mate doesn't have 100,000 viewers for his blog about how chess books don't work. Because people are freaking stupid. Anyone reading this blog has to be dumb enough to believe that chess books don't work. By the way, Moveldavin found a way to like disable the blogs on lichess if anyone's interested. You can hit him up for a message. Bishop f6. Why don't I like this move? It's not terrible. But I like knight f6 better. I don't know why exactly. Why is it I like knight takes better? I guess I just like keeping my bishops, I'm biased, but bishop f6 interestingly has more decisive games in the database, but it's a small sample size. This is interesting. Bishop h4 is a move, believe it or not. Played by Leiko, who surprisingly drew. I always respected Leiko. People used to give him a hard time. He became very draw-oriented. I had an account called Drawco at one point, like mocking Leiko, but he was trained by Adorian, and he was quite dynamic in his earlier career before he became, a draw expert. Bishop h4, interesting. All right, so bishop f6. And now what do we do? We don't want to trade too many pieces here. As Kosic says, trade 2 pieces, and she doesn't know how to attack. Don't forget, that's a legendary quote from the Serbian Grandmaster. Well, actually, he plays for Montenegro, but Dragan is a classic guy. I like him a lot. But his strategy, that's straight up Kosic with black in French defense. Trade 2 pieces and they can't attack you. So here we go. Black doesn't exchange pieces now. I would wonder about... wonder what we might find. Oh God, I don't want to know, man. If these blogs are on this site, they're going to be these blogs and many more. What about Queen e2? Or something to that effect. I really like castling queenside against this give up the center structure. The queen d3 was also played twice. I think the problem is you run into queen trade, the queen d5 thing. That's obviously a problem. The Turkish guy played queen e3 here. He's a real psychopath. Playing all kinds of crazy stuff. Son of a hop. But I don't think this opening really suits him. So knight takes f6, bishop d3. He doesn't exchange pieces. And now what do we do? Queen e2. Definitely queen e2. Now black's walking into that sort of like classic trap. Castles, b6, knight takes f6, bishop takes f6, and queen e4. It seems like it's, you're just really asking for it. Why is he not training pieces? Would kind of be the question. But Mr. Slow doesn't play queen e2, he castles. Malanyuk versus Sakis. Black can win with the 2 cowboys in the ending. How to beat a stronger player. You can write a blog about it. I'm sure that Boris Golko, you know. Well, I mean, it's a lot like a Sicilian Uber driver. And you want to note here that White has not won a single game out of 6 games. White is not worse in this position, but Uber driver's right about the long-term endgame kind of situation. What White wants is maybe to trade the bishops off, ironically. So Mr. Slow uncharacteristically didn't really play for much in the opening. He gave Black virtual equality. Virtual equality, mind you. Not quite. And now, my God, man. This guy, he's seriously taking lessons with George Meyer. And this is going a little bit too far now. Rook c8. He played h6. That's kind of weakening, isn't it? Extreme weakening move, h6. Rook c8 is really, for a kid, kind of a funny move. I always hated that move, you know. It's like they play that in the Slavs sometimes. I love having my rook. What I like most about Rook c8 is the subtlety behind it. Like, you can't imagine what Black's going to try to do with that rook move. Finally, he was pulling Mr. Slow's teeth, and he played Queen e2. Black could have exchanged knights while White would have had to have taken with the bishop, but now we've got Queen e2, Queen h7, Queen b7 fork, and Black plays this. So I introduce you to Harry Nelson Pillsbury versus, and we're very happy to see knight to d5, my friend. How to beat a weaker player is my new blog, and just let them beat themselves. This is a simple solution. You don't need to beat the weaker player. The weaker player just beats themselves. He's doing the opposite of what he's supposed to do, which is trade pieces. Now it's too late to trade pieces, because he should have exchanged them before. Obviously, if knight e4 now, it looks like White's probably winning a pawn. Although, even here, I mean, this is pretty bad. Honestly, this is game over, and f5, it's pretty bad for Black, needless to say. But maybe there'd be some chance that Black could survive. He said A, and now, the plan was to play c5, it looks like. Why would you play rook c8? The plan is to play c5, only idea. But we have the, same old. So, takes, Queen e4, and now there's not even any f5. So Black would have to do the Korchnoi sort of thing with rook e8, or maybe g6 works here because we've got a bishop on f6. I mean, this is an ugly position. But I mean, this move, man, what would I play? What would I play if I were Black? What would Steinitz play? Speaking of blogs, you know what's more annoying than blogs? People in old school chess forums who commentate everything. The backyard professor type of guys. If you go to the old chess sites like chessgames.com, those people who have to annotate every single game, they're home experts. They insult great players. They insult Steinitz and shit. I'm dude, you don't know anything about chess. You're insulting Steinitz. Or mocking Steinitz or something. How about bishop e8? We're just losing the pawn, right? It's too late, man. It's too late for Black, I think, here. I think after Queen e2, Black is virtually lost. Like, you're not drawing against Leiko for sure. Let's just say this, okay? After Queen E2, does Yasser Seirawan have a chance to hold this against Leiko with black? I think not. I think not. Any grandmaster playing black against, any decent engine is game over. And Seirawan with black pieces against Leiko is game over, probably. I mean, objectively, I guess then, almost like we don't have to criticize this move because he's lost anyway. My point being, I want to criticize this move on principle, but practically speaking, it's not a mistake because every move loses in this position. So what the hell is black supposed to do, He's already lost after 12 moves. What do you guys think about that conclusion? I'm curious what Mr. Slow says. I say black's already lost here. Yeah, bishop c6. Bishop c6 is the kind of move like you probably survived the longest. No, seriously, like not a stupid idea. Like with this move you would survive maybe the longest against like a computer. It would grind you down in like 47 moves. No, I mean, I just don't see a move for black. He can't exchange pieces. And it's so easy to play white. He can't exchange pieces, plus he can't play c5, so what the heck is he supposed to do? It's not going to get any better. I agree with UberDriver in a sense, like maybe bishop c6, but even this isn't so bad. Mr. Slow, my first intuition here was g3. But which is obviously less weakening than f4, considering this diagonal. But maybe this knight d5 was actually a decent move because you have to do something. And now, this I mean, I'll be damned if I don't play c5 now. You cannot wait much longer. Be a Russian. Be a Russian and follow... What? Why does that make you a Russian? The Americans were great at chess before the Russians, I guess, if you think about Morphy. The Americans. Russians didn't get good at chess until Petrov and Chigorin. What do you guys think about this? Is there any sort of tactic here for white? I mean, if you had rook on d1, I think black is probably lost. But maybe there's some chance here. I'm afraid his move is too slow, though. Oh, knight g5. Jeez, dude. Yeah, knight g5 is nice, bullet idea, but not necessary here. It's a bit much. I mean, if we had, like, queen on h5, it would almost be something worth considering. It's a little too fantastic. I think that white is winning with pretty, like, straightforward, machine-like, improvement of position. I don't think that I'm lasting more than 15 moves here with black against a computer. I'm telling you, like, I'm resigning within 15 moves. Almost 100%. I would be very, very surprised. That's what I mean by, like, black is lost, Mr. Slow. If I'm black against Stockfish in this position, I'm almost certainly resigning within 15 moves. But although, I don't know. After knight d5, f4, maybe c5 puts up a bit of resistance. But this move is good, but it looks kind of slow. Now rook d1. Exactly. See, that's the problem. Mr. Slow just like killed his counterplay. His only counterplay was with c5. And that's his last chance, last move. Now he plays c6, and this is like... Now it's really, really bad. I mean, f5 is even in the position now. Queen b6 isn't a lot of counterplay. I'm not even... yeah, I mean, you open up the queen there. So bishop e1. Speaking of Pillsbury, I mean, you couldn't play a more Pillsbury-like game with white, by the way, Mr. Slow. Though I still have a bit of a like preference for the other capture on f6. Yeah, no, it's over, man. It's over. It's over. I mean, unless you're playing an incompetent player with white. See, Mr. Slow plays c4 here, though, and that's not the safest continuation. I mean, what would Pillsbury play here? c5 is threatened, so to speak. We don't have a dark square bishop. This diagonal is the big one, though. But I mean, what about rook lifts? We don't have rook lifts. We have double rook lifts, which would really end it. But I was surprised by c4. It's clearly not a bad move, but is it necessary? I feel like you're winning without c4. But the exact methodology I don't necessarily have for you. I mean, threatening h7, right? Let's just say, for argument's sake, you play like acerbate. Now I guess f5 and the Russians are winning. Let's do queen d3. Now it's not so easy. The Russians don't have f5 according to UberDriver. So queen d3 threatens things. But I guess my main idea would be like just trying to massage black's kingside and forcing him to make more weaknesses. No, I really believe that black is lost here. c4 is the best move according to the engine, wow, and the second best move is g4, which I really didn't want to do. What's wrong with queen d3? It doesn't work. Oh my god, wow. f5 is really good. g4 now, of course. I was just going to play knight g3. Black has counterplay with c5. So UberDriver's right. You know, UberDriver has a good instinct for this f5 thing. But he does play the French defense. It was just a suggestion. I mean, you could play f5. Wasn't someone talking about king h1? Alright, anyway, I spent too much time on these early games. c4. c4 is good. You're playing in a queen pawn style here. Again, in principle, I don't want to trade pieces. It's starting to look like a Cambridge Springs variation. You know, the Cambridge Springs where black has his bishops here. This could even work out in black's favor, where he actually gets to put the bishop on g7. By the way, Mr. Slow, I think this guy was better than the other guy. I mean, this is a very queen's... Mr. Slow plays both d4 and e4, by the way. He's conducting the game with the queen pawn style, like Pillsbury. Yeah, that's kind of funny, right? Black plays b6 to break, then a5 to break, and then he just changes his plan and goes to close it up with b5. But I don't know. You know, what can black do? Yeah, I mean, it's totally a Cambridge Springs now. And then, yeah, this is... It's a bad It's a badass move, man. H4. Clearly, if bishop takes h4, f5 is like, oops, I did it again. So h4 is nasty. Black practically has to play h5. I don't see how he cannot play h5 here. Man, h4 must have come as a very unpleasant shock for black. And now Captain Caveman. No doubt Uber Driver would be happy with this. Get out your Captain Caveman costume. Taking on h4 loses a bishop. Well, maybe not. Can black realistically defend this position? I doubt it. He has to try it. And now h5. So now what always happens to me is, when I do this kind of thing, my opponent plays like king g7 and the rook swings over to the h file, and I suddenly realize, like, this happened against this I am from Norway, Torborn, whatever his name was. I had a game in the Caro-Kann where I went all in on this like Panov kingside attack with h4, and suddenly the guy was just like, I had nothing. Torborn Hansen or whatever. Do we have anything here? Is it enough? You just keep taking stuff, right? Wow. Take rook a8. The computer wants to do take rook a8 and thinks that black isn't lost here. This move is alarming. And Mr. Slow has to seriously consider taking with the d pawn and sticking his rook on d6. I mean, isn't that lost for black? Maybe not. Hard to imagine. I mean, with that pawn on e8, like, black isn't lost either way. Now I played f5, and you take en passant, and oh my god. Black has a check on g3. What the hell is going on here? What is this? Are you guys seeing this? I mean, are you sure about this? This is cool? Damn, Mr. Slow, that's pretty extreme. And you just got everything under control. You missed the point of f5. I still think like you're killing him if you take this. There's like nothing for black to do. But the engine thinks that black has some counterplay. I mean, obviously he'd go to the A file. I certainly wouldn't want to be black. But after this, f5. I feel like we've made a mistake here. Why is this check? You're going to say before that, before he commits to stuff, he could have done rook d3. Well, I mean, rook lifts were... He played g takes h instantly. Oh, the 26 g takes h instantly. He played this instantly. Yeah, I mean, I was trying to figure out what the hell is going on here. After queen g3 check, my god. King h1, black would have at least a draw. But, you know, you like... I just don't know about this. I'm thinking like you have a really good king. But, is that enough? Yeah, you're worse. You're worse. So that was a weird, like, kind of oversight. Really by both sides. I assume it was Mr. Slow time pressure time. I mean, the computer likes D-takes. Yeah. Yeah, this was a weird mistake by Mr. Slow. I guess he had just used too much time and got himself in time pressure. You should just take with the D-pawn and you have no losing chances. I mean, it's like pretty unpleasant, man. Although hard to break through, I can't imagine like White ever losing. Yeah, I mean, you just overlooked Queen G3 check, I guess. This easily could have been like one of Pillsbury's blindfold games. Queen F7, Rook D2. Really nice move there. Wow. And Rook G8. If you take, you're gonna get game overed. That's a nice shot, which Black no doubt overlooked. So he suddenly thrust into a position where he didn't see Rook takes G4 probably, and if he takes it, Rook H2 is just curtains because of King G8 and Queen takes G4 check. So suddenly Black's like, oh my god, what am I going to do? He has to play Rook G8, only move. And I didn't know what was happening. Rook H2 is interesting, is it not? If we're going to be all about the tension here. I mean, Black has this type stuff. This kid is still, I think, better than your last opponent. But Rook takes wins, okay. It wins straight away. Because you got the Rook to come over, okay. So Queen takes is nothing because of Rook G2. It really doesn't matter. It just wins. Black is... yeah. Black is not Emmanuel Schiffers. Bishop D7, Queen D6 check, King E8, Bishop G6. Alright. Well, practical time pressure seemed to rear its ugly head there. Mr. So has another game later, by the way, guys. We're just getting warmed up here. I had a long night with sort of psychopathic Hungarians getting in my grill. Poker and chess people in my life who are just like harassing me. So I'm trying to get my shit together here. This is ABC FIGM. Where have ideas, nice find. Instead of Bishop G6, where have ideas? No Rook G8. Instead of Bishop G6, wait a second. Anyway, alright, we're on to the next game. I'm sorry, I gotta go. I gotta go on because we're way behind schedule. I enjoyed the first two games so much that I spent forever on these games. I don't mean to be like, you know... Where was that? I need that clip. Here we are in the Black Forest. Analyzing the games for 2 hours. We're deep in the Black Forest. And we're drinking beer and we're analyzing chess games. We're listening to crazy classic German rock from the Black Forest. From the 90s, Black Forest rock. Alright, this is ABC FIGM with Black. So, ABC FIGM. Typically playing the Tartakover Queen's Gambit. Knight c3, knight f6. C takes d5, e takes d5. Bishop g5. At one point I played the exchange variation for white, but I hated it because after a while you get bored with it. Like there's no, there's no mystery. The structure is always just like defined. That's why I stopped playing the Queen's Gambit exchange variation. Although objectively it like is one of white's best weapons against the Queen's Gambit decline. Ultimately, I regressed back to classical play with white. Neil says, you played OTB. Oh no. Do you want to analyze it? I don't know if we can find a... Hey! Why don't you write a blog about it? We can analyze it. And listen to classic German rock. I'm Dieterich Blagmacher. We can make a blog about the Fools Mate. Just donate. No, I'm talking like an Indian. I can't do good. I really have to get my like characters, these personas like together. I have to practice more. I can't like be doing Dieterich Blagmacher and start reverting to like Apu from The Simpsons. More practice necessary. I need you to support our stream so I can practice my personas. Don't forget to donate if you want your game analyzed at the last minute. Hey, that's a nice bass you got there. Do you want a cookie? Alright, Queen c2. So, remind me now. Yeah, can you remind me how much I hate h6, please? I don't understand why is black playing h6? Why does everyone play h6 on the black side of the exchange variation? I don't understand. Like, what is the point of this move? There's one specific variation where you like hunt down the bishop and force this exchange or something. I don't know. I don't like the Queen's Gambit decline particularly. I remember Dave Grigo, Rip, was a great player from New England. He could have been an IM, but he never like played internationally. Passed away a couple years ago, tragically. Grigo used to play the Slav, semi-Slav move order. Well, he used to play the semi-Slav, but he would get like exchange variations, right? How would he do this? I guess Grigo would play the pawn triangle. Man, I hate allowing the, yeah, there's nothing you can do. If you want to play normal Queen's Gambit decline, good luck. There's really no sense in playing bishop e7. There's no way to avoid it. I mean, you're just like forced into this. But here, after queen c2, Uber driver, knight a6, I would just castle. I mean, I think you can delay c6. That's interesting. You see, c6 doesn't have a great score, does it? It's also not forced. That's Matthew Sadler's idea. I almost played the Queen's Gambit. I mean, I've played the Queen's Gambit with black a few times. Queen's Gambit declined. Without a lot of success. But according to Matthew Sadler, who's quite a strong player, black can delay c6 or often omit it, you know. So ultimately, if white tries to castle queenside, it tries to play like a really sharp methodology. With white, you can go c5 in one move. But I don't really get this h6 thing. So that's a bad sign. It's a bad sign when the top player playing this move is some guy named Drushka. Yuri Drushka. I think that's an OTB player, but still. Nobody plays h6. No, bishop f4 is not absurd either. But bishop h4 is fine. Now what's our point? You just played h6 for no good reason. I told you guys I had this teammate who like cost us qualifying for the first division in Hungary because he kept playing h6 in the exchange variation. He lost 3 games for our team in the same season, playing the same crap. I don't see the point of h6, besides weakening the king side. e3, now c6. How to take advantage? Well, I mean, it takes advantage of itself. The point of not playing h6 is that you can play f6 later if you need to. But we'll never be able to play f6 in the future. If he sticks a Pillsbury knight on e5, you're never playing f6, not in a million years, because your whole king side is like weakened by h6. I don't know. There may be a specific idea here. It appears that people are playing bishop e6 and delaying c5, c6 to play c5. That makes sense. I don't know the refutation of h6, but I don't see the point of it, really. The only possible point of h6 is really, I guess, you could force an exchange of bishops with like knight h5. Whereas otherwise, I could avoid the exchange of bishops. c6, bishop d3. Now we transposed. Again, I still don't understand why black plays h6. I guess we'll find out. Knight on g to e2. And now a5. So somehow we've transposed back into a known variation. But a5, another move that I'm on the fence about. I mean, this is... What is black doing here? We're like trying to discourage white from playing castle's queen side. I guess a5 is like about that, but... It seems like black could have more fundamental moves they could play here. See, knight h5, that I understand, you know. Kramnik, I'm in good company. When I see h6, the only thing that makes sense to me is like this Nigel Short style thing, where, you know, we're basically covering bishop g3. So in most cases, white will exchange on e7. We forced an exchange of pieces, Caruana Kramnik. Notice Kramnik lost both games he played this with black. Not a very impressive run there. And bishop g3 is possible. And this is a strong Ukrainian player. Wow, black's better after bishop g3. Surprising how much black's better here. Engine is giving black a sizable advantage. That's a sizable advantage you've got there. Why so much? Not really understanding. Well, basically you're just getting a bishop for a knight. I guess that's the end of the story. And Solodovnichenko isn't in a rush to take it. You know, he has the point here that it's not going anywhere. Now he takes it. White opens the H file. The computer just thinks black's better because of the bishop pair. I mean, it seems a little exaggerated, the engine's evaluation. A whole pawn up for black, but I guess I like that better than a5. a5, I mean, you know, yeah, you slow down the minority attack, but ultimately you're also weakening yourself. I mean, these squares are a little weakened. A lot of draws here. Knight a6. We're following 41 games. We're with an even score for black. a3. And now knight c7. I mean, this is weird, man. It feels like ABCFI Jam is playing a correspondence game or something. With a really weird move order, he's transposed to theory. I mean, how do you even get a player who'll go 12 moves into theory at this level? Okay, rook b1. Surprisingly, rook b1 is a new move. f3 makes a lot of sense. Carlsen with white. And look at that, Hans versus Michael Adams. Is that enhanced Hans or human Hans? By the way, guys, I was talking about mocking blogs today, and there was this guy, some guy from Canada, who wrote a blog about how to beat superior opponents, how to beat stronger opponents. Hans is an expert in that. He has one of the methodologies like mastered. You might want to contact him for more information. But yeah, f3, c5. Wojtasek versus Blue Bomb. 2021. I'm not going to get into that again. I can't believe like mainstream media is giving that any. It's Piers Morgan again. Whatever. He's like a conspiracy therapist. All right, rook a b1 looks like a natural move, doesn't it? Wow, bro. Extreme b5. So there's like 44 games here. No one played rook a b1 with the obvious plan of the minority attack, because most of them sort of prefer to play f3, giving the bishop a retreat square back to f2, supporting the classic e4. But on the other hand, like how bad is rook b1? I would think like you would wait until b4 and then like trade and play b5. If it works, if it's good. On the other hand, like black would need a waiting move. Like what would the waiting move be? Black doesn't have an obvious waiting move here. The other thing is like if you want to play b5, I have a question. Don't you want to like maneuver a knight to c4? Isn't that the point of b5 normally? You're going like knight d7 to b6 into c4 and blocking white's play along the c file. Otherwise, I'm not really sure like what this does. We're creating a backward pawn on c6 for what? Like what purpose? What is this? How does this benefit black? You're just gonna like lunge forward with like b4? What are we like achieving here? Why are we playing on white's side? I mean, b5 makes sense. When white plays b4, we lock the pawns and we go for an outpost on c4. We have no way to achieve that here. So this move seems pretty freaking random to me. b5. And then white changed his tune and played this. Well, I'm not sure at this point I want to play b4 either. But I don't like b5 for black. What is black supposed to play here? I mean, again, the type of Solodichenko thing with like trading pieces, takes, or knight h5, bishop g3, probably takes, and then white takes, I don't know, with the knight or something. And we just have a position where black has the bishop pair and hopes that the Cowboys will be better in the ending. Uber Driver is a big Jerry Jones fan. b5 seems weird. Now bishop f5. What's white's plan? trade bishop off. I like this. I like white getting into c5 or the c-file pressure. g6 now. Now there's no sack on g6, is there? You could sack on g6 for 3 pawns. Bishop takes g6, pawn g6, queen g6 check. The heck is going on? Can someone explain to me what's happening here? Knight g7, queen h6. Do you even have a clue? I mean, which side to prefer? Reparations. No, I don't like b5. I don't. I think like it's a classic structure where I don't even prefer a5, but okay. You know, if you're going to play something like, you could play c5 if white plays f3, but he's not doing anything. The problem is like white isn't doing anything. It looks like he's going to play b4, okay. Well, okay, then let's prepare. Let's say white's going to play b4. The question is like, what do we do here? What's our waiting move, you know? I mean, okay, knight e6. Knight e6, you know, is this a thing? Wow, it transposed to a game. This transposed to a game. Knight e6, f4. Or something like that, risky. Yeah, I don't like b5. Anyway. So he could have sacked on g6. We just don't really have a plan. Neither side has a plan. Basically, like, what are both sides doing? I mean, it just seems really random to me. They played the opening perfectly, and then both sides just sort of didn't know what they were doing. Bishop g3, king h7. That's controversial. Wow. Probing. And trading pieces seems like a reasonable idea, although I still don't like our backwardness on the c-file. I propose a draw. White says no. H3. You know, as black as well. Like, why is white allergic to having playing f3, or to playing f3? He doesn't know the whole plan is like f3 normally in the structure. And now black actually offering to trade his own, you know, good bishop for the bad bishop on e5. White just won't trade anything. But this seems to me this is just a blitz game, man. I mean, ultimately, like, both sides are making weird moves. The problem is it's just too fast of a game to take too seriously. 3 minutes against 2 minutes. Black playing on the wrong side of the board, ultimately. You know, your strong point is on like e4, and white's strong point is like d4, c5. Black's supposed to play for like f5, and white should be playing here in general. Of course, yeah, now it's white's just taking a lot of space, having avoided exchanges. He played really actually strangely, but white could be a computer. It just occurred to me. White hasn't made any like real mistakes. Maybe I'm being paranoid. His coordination is awful good, you know, awfully good. Very, very much even computer-like, I would say. A little too good. Yeah. White was a little too good. Let's see what the CPL was at the end of the day. I think he played too well. I know I'm paranoid. I would rule out the fact that white could have been an engine in that game. Despite the fact that he like didn't seem to know what he was doing, he never made any bad moves. If I saw a lot of games that fit that pattern by the same guy, I would conclude they were an engine. I mean, nobody's like dumb enough to use an engine with the best moves every time, but it feels like an engine to me. He really let it rip at the end, though, you know. All right, onward and upward. A great historical game from the Black Forest. Boris Spassky. I don't know if this was even meant to be a submission. I'm just going to play through this fast. Is Uber Driver even here? Mr. Slowbright just... What? 18 minutes ago. For that, I had to put the glasses back on. Well, we have a donation. Yes. Thank you very much. We have a donation from the Black Forest. $1,500 we're up to. $105, taking us up to an even 1,522. Listening to classic rock from the Black Forest. Alright, but drinking Czech beer. I gotta practice. Ben Petrosian. Mr. Slow single-handedly taking us up a notch. Thank you very much. Alright, so this is just a quick one. I'm not going to spend detailed analysis time on this epic game. This is one of like Spassky's best. Boris Spassky, Master of Attack or whatever. You know what I can't remember is where I saw this game published. Can anybody tell me what famous books where this game was published in? I can't figure it out. Spassky's Best Games. Yeah, I don't have Spassky's Best Games. That's why I don't understand. What book did I know this game from? It certainly wasn't in Larson's games. Since I don't own Spassky's Best Games, and obviously it wasn't in like Bent Larson, I have who wrote that book on Larson? I don't remember, but anyways, Bent Larson, Master of Counterattack, I think. So he transposes to the English here. While it's not bad, I mean, I still think like E3 is fine. But we have been experiencing some discomfort with white against this Morozevich gambit. I have to admit, some blogger got on the bandwagon a while back and copied this. One of those annoying bloggers. He not only like tells us that chess books are no good, but he like steals popular ideas and throws them in his blog. I mean, yeah, everybody knows about this. That's what Magnus Carlsen does. Anyway, C4, okay. Acerbate versus somebody. I had this game, ironically, I had a game yesterday where I was black. And my opponent played E3. And I played a funny move here. I played Bishop C5. And I was like, Jesus, what am I doing? Playing the Bodler? And the funny thing was, I had a really interesting game with this Bishop C5. Ron DeSantis lost against Peruvian Grandmaster Cordova. But Maybe the boulder's not so stupid. I had a really cool game where white played like d4, my bishop dropped back to a7, and I was able to subsequently hammer back against the c. It was a very Asterbate-like game, old school Asterbate. Like, he was... Asterbate, you need to go back to your Bodler instincts. I just wasn't sure what the best move is. The computer says d5. But, you know, look, Karyak and Majarov, a lot of wins for white. It's a Sicilian. Chom Sicilian in reverse. I'm not sure. Bishop takes e5. Get some help, man. Okay, so instead knight f3 was played. And this is controversial. This is very hypermodern. And Larson liked to play the Alekhine with black. He also liked to play reverse Alekhine. Once I played against Larry Christensen, when I was white, g3, e5, knight f3, e4, knight d4. I was inspired by Larson. Larson has that in that book. I can't remember who the author is. Bent Larson, Master of Counterattack. So Larson had a kind of, well, he's one of the greatest hypermodern players of modern history. But having said that, he had a real, you know, favoritism toward playing extremely hypermodern stuff. Here against Spassky, it's dangerous. e4, knight d4. By the way, like, you know, I would suppose this is possible. There's the Alekhine thing where, you know, black could try to trap the knight. Super thanks to Mr. Slow again. Yeah, exactly, Uber Driver. I know Uber Driver is like, can't get beyond like I.A. Horowitz, Chess, Traps, and Zaps. That was like my favorite book. I just want to tell you now, Uber Driver, when I was 11 years old, that was my favorite chess book. Chess, Traps, and Zaps by I.A. Horowitz. And Uber Driver's like still there, man. He's still there after like 40, 50 years of chess. I was obsessed with that book when I was first starting out. I loved that. But seriously, 95 is possible. 94, boom. So this is why the game reminded me of that. Now it's like... So Carlsen, what did Carlsen do? Knight f5? Carlsen, Grishuk, knight f5. Like, man, I have no idea what's going on here. It's all zeros. According to the engine, d5. So Carlsen, Grishuk, knight takes g7 check, king f8. C takes d5. Bishop d4. Knight c3. And, damn, dude, Grishuk went wrong here. Jesus Christ. He didn't remember the obscure analysis he must have done at some point. Have to play knight b4. Damn, dude. Wow. It looks like maybe knight h5. That is insane stuff, man, and there's no other games where this has been played. But Larson didn't find it. So he takes. E3 is possible too. And now it's Morphe, baby. Just active pieces. Surprisingly, the two games that followed this were both draws. Alright. Enough. I like the hat, but the glasses are just too hard to work with. This is still okay. Bishop f5, clamping down. I'm having flashbacks to the last game I lost in the Hungarian Team Championship last year in the Superliga against the computer cheater's brother. I just never got my king out of the middle of the board and it wasn't good. This is okay. Queen e7. overprotect the center. I mean, is f3 a thing? Yeah, it's a trap. Mr. Coffee loves that. So already white is slightly worse. And, you know, what's not clear is, like, where your king is safer. I mean, if you think about it like a Nimzovich Sicilian, I've seen a lot of examples where white or black, let's say, in the Nimzovich Sicilian can castle, like, queenside. You know, ultimately, white has to be really careful about where he puts his king. This pawn on e4 just creates such huge attacking chances for all the time. And now f4. This is really risky. So that move apparently loses. Asterbate would have played a3. It's kind of like, why not play a3? What could possibly go wrong if you played a3 here? It's not like Spassky wants to play a5, you know? I'm really surprised he didn't play a3. It looks like bishop d6. Maybe black could play like c5, some positions. But this was a big, big mistake, f4, now there. And if, for those of you who don't know, this is a very famous combinational game. g3, h5, and then h3, and that's like the fatal mistake. This was the brilliance of the game, where Spassky sacks a piece with h4. He just sacks a knight, and Larsen probably, you know, miscalculated or overlooked this entirely. You just don't really think like black can do that. You know, you're attacking his knight and he just leaves it there. So that's the point. And now Larsen. What is white supposed to do? If he doesn't take the knight, what is he supposed to do? Bishop takes g4. So apparently this is best. Bishop takes g4. Sorry, not d3. Bishop takes g4. Bishop takes g4. H takes g4. H takes... And it's still a piece sack. But this combined with that pawn on g3 and white's king being trapped in the center is too much. I'm sure that it's bad anyway. So, needless to say, I'll show you what happened. H takes g, takes, rook g1. This is suicide. You know, if you take here, I mean, there's just no way white's surviving. A pass pawn on the 6 plus the open h file and the queen filtering in on h4. And white doesn't have time to evacuate. It was really bad. This is one of Larsen's worst games, honestly. One of Spassky's most beautiful, but one of Larsen's worst. This is a killer move. That's just sick, man. Rook h1. I mean, that's maybe one of the greatest moves of all time. I like how the computer never gives exclamation points or whatever. By the way, like, is this the only winning move for black? If it is, I mean, that's one of the most brilliant moves of all time. It's not, though. Black has a host of winning moves. Okay. So apparently black has just a host of winning moves. This is actually winning. The obvious queen h4 is actually winning. But this is elegant. Rook takes h1, g2, and now obviously the queen is coming in. So he has to go somewhere. If he plays rook g1, check, and then queen f2. But it's bad in any case. Two queens and white resigns. After bishop takes, I mean, there's this. It's made in a few moves. So rook f1, question mark. He should play rook g1, queen h4 check, king d1, queen h1, and then queen c1, giving the king an escape hatch. And then black makes a new queen. Black can make a new queen on g1. Rook h1 is a beautiful move. You know, elegant. an aesthetic, like, not a theme that you've really ever seen that I remember, like, seeing in another game. You know, of course, it's also rare that the players of such high magnitude, like Larson and Spassky, would crush one another that badly. But Larson tend to push the envelope a little too far sometimes. That was a really nice game. All right, Mule Skinner. The Mule Skinner with white. His last game from... he got his neck bent. Ben Petrosian. Because Petrosian and Larson both lost to Fischer 6-0. So my joke is always like, well, what would have happened if you combined them into one player? Sometimes I feel like I play like that. Like I'm a combination of Petrosian and Bent Larson. I'll tell you what, Mr. Slow, thank you for the donation. Don't remind me about the crushing defeats that you inflicted on me, and I won't remind you of the I won't remind you of the crushing defeats you imposed on me. But thank you for your donation. Mule Skinner, it's a short one from his tournament in Denmark. Wait, was it Taimanov that lost 6-0? Hold on a second. Okay, you're right. Sorry. You're right, of course. Petrosian didn't lose 6-0. That's one of those memory tricks where you start... What happens is you remember something wrong, and then you start reinforcing it. I started to reinforce it and reinforce it and reinforce it. And so I was convincing myself that Petrosian lost 6-0. But of course, Mr. Uber Driver is still living in 1972, so... Yeah. No, Petrosian would never lose 6-0. I mean, that's absurd. Thank you for correcting me. Petrosian never lost a game in his life. Well, wait. He never lost more than one game in a row. Ever. Probably. No, I mean, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to tarnish Petrosian's legend, of course. Of course, he couldn't lose to anybody 6-0, let alone God. Alright, e4, c5, knight c3, knight c6, f4, g6, knight f3, here, bishop b5. Yeah, I thought it was 6-0, 6-0, but that I could have misremembered. Uber Driver is the expert. I've never really been a memory-oriented chess player. Okay, how many times have I played this, like, with black? God, let's take a look, just for fun. Sparkle Horse is black. I have 113 games on lichess with black's position. How many against Mule Skinner? 1, 2. Only 2 in the top list. All right, so here, I mean, this is an important position because Roman used to like to play knight takes c4. I think it sucks. You know, knight takes c4, pawn takes c4, knight e2. This is nothing for white. This is actually a bad line. Though Gingy was a brilliant player, he did package a lot of variations that weren't that good and try to sell them off as great. All, you know, but this isn't really very effective. So this is clearly like good. Best bishop c4 is played. Bishop d3 is played, has been played against me. But from my perspective with black, my real issue is like here, whether I want to take the bishop or not, because I just don't know, you know. You're saying you should have played bishop d3? But I think castles is probably best, objectively. And you've probably had a lot of practice here. Knight takes b5, knight takes b5, and then black plays d5. So this is an interesting position also. I've played everything in this position. Most of the games I played were with kind of hyper-modern a6, knight c3, b5. But they're only correspondence games, it looks like there. I've also played other stuff. I've played d5. This is a well-known variation. Actually, Sergei Kudrin played this with black against Perlstein. Delayed Kraken, something like that. Sergei Kudrin played it with black. I think it was this position. Oh, by the way, I also have like a differentiation here. Gingy's idea is to take with a pawn, and Perlstein followed him. But the British players, like I had this position with black against James Plaskett, aka the Red Baron, and the usual suspect, Byron Jacobs. So for some reason, like British masters like e5, whereas like American ones play pawn takes pawn. I don't understand, like, well, you know, Soviet-born American players prefer pawn takes pawn, whereas British players prefer e5. Don't ask me why, like, that's the way it is, but that's the way it is. They're both playable for black, d5 and a6. Oh yeah, you told me, it's Rasmus Skytte. I played Skytte like years ago in my first tournament in Budapest, October 1997. That's funny. Muleskinner's opponent is the son of a guy who I played who was like younger than me, you know, back in 1997. I remember we were friendly. I was friendly with Skytte and Mads Boe, who were here together. It was only 25 years ago. Nothing much. But he was quite young. Rasmus was quite young and trying to get his IM norms back then like me. But anyways, this isn't the be-all and end-all. Yeah, d5 is a good recommendation. So now a6. Knight c3 and then knight f6. So here's the critical moment, okay? There's a couple of games with Brian Smith and somebody else who played knight takes d5 here, and that's known. Like Feingold and Brian Smith lost. Gigi had analyzed this like years ago. I had a game with Perlstein in a Blitz tournament at my friend's house, like, I don't know, man, a million years ago, in like 1995. I had this position on the board in a Blitz game. c4 is a move I didn't know about until like recently. But Kudrin actually came up with an interesting idea. And I think you should take anything from Kudrin very seriously, because he's an expert in the dragon, man. So he played c takes d. And there's only 3 games. This is maybe even the best move. I like it better, you know, and it's impressive that he beat, well, this is back in 1997, okay? But I still think this is an interesting move, and there's very little following to this. Pawn takes pawn. Like, all these moves are possible. But again, you know, this is impressive that he beat Perlstein, who was being programmed by Gingy. Queen takes d4, castles. Now black is 2-0 in this position. So I don't know. I mean, it looks like black has the Cowboys, like Uber Driver says, and I'll trust Kudrin on that. Although this was an old game, okay? It's 1997. I've never beaten Kudrin. Let's just say that. This is tricky, man. After pawn takes pawn, yeah. I mean, This is very tricky. 1965, White's supposed to play pawn takes pawn. And both Brian Smith and Feingold have lost this position with black. And I had this in the Blitz tournament against Perlstein, like I said, in 1995, before he was even strong yet. And he had been programmed by Roman. This is tricky. Black has to be really careful. I think I drew. You see, Joel Benjamin beat Brian Smith. And Feingold lost against Renier Gonzalez. That doesn't bode well, you know. But what the heck is this? 1965. Okay, we've got a novelty in the house. Where did that come from? So you totally took the kid out of book with 92. Who knows what he was, you know, what he was prepared to do? But I mean, you should take on c5. This ending is quite okay for White. There's a really nasty trap. You know, there's some nasty traps in this ending. I think that objectively it's like equal. But if you see that Feingold and Smith lost, you know, the Brian Smith game I remember particularly. But I don't know anything about 92. Doesn't seem right. But it's also hard for Black to decide what to do. I don't like your light squares. I mean, you got no light square control. And you don't really have much compensation for it. So he decides to play c4. I don't know what he should do though. I mean, there's definitely an element of the position to like pawn takes pawn. Uber driver's like b6, I guess. But I mean, ultimately, I mean, I guess this would improve your knight. But I mean, Uber driver, like, you're not much of a fan of pawn structure, I take it. But I agree with Uber driver, like, it's not unreasonable to accept isolated A and C pawns. He was out of book after 92, no doubt. D takes c5 is anti-positional, of course. I mean, but this has been theory since 1995 at least. Roman was playing this against computers since who knows when. It was all worked out. Yeah, of course, D takes c5 it looks strange. But, you know, what's the oldest game in here? The oldest game in here, you know, is only 2002. But Jesus Christ, man, I just told you I had a Blitz game in 95. So that's when it was being invented. So c4 closes it up. And now knight g3. The light square bishop. Something about c4 I don't love. We need to sack a pawn or something. Bob Saccaponda. f5. Not going to happen. I hate that this knight doesn't have any squares. Like a... What's that called? Knight g3 against the King's Indian. Uber driver. a4 maybe. The theme of the day is like playing on the wrong side of the board. If White has to play a4, then I guess we're not doing too well. I really want to sack a pawn with f5, but I kind of doubt whether it works. But I would play it in a Blitz game. I mean, obviously here you have pretty good chances. I guess the real question would be bishop takes f5. Do we have enough compensation? I mean, I'm curious about maybe something like this. But curious tilde the cat. Yeah, it's not enough. It doesn't look like enough or even close to enough. I wouldn't be surprised if there was something here for white. The computer doesn't buy it. Alright. So, knight e4. And now he's into the c5 outpost. Yeah, I mean, that's... Well, I mean, a consequence of black's decision to play c4 is that A, d4 is solid, B, e5 is solid, and now c5 is solid. So that's why I didn't really like playing c4. I like how Mule Skinner says the g3 knight might go to c5 someday. Yeah, I mean, that's why I never played c4 in that position. This move. Even though I saw it's been played by some strong players, Perlstein, Eric Lawson, 2005. I never... it just never appealed to me, It's like ugly, you're taking pressure off the enemy center. Black has a good score with it. I think, like, at this point, Black has to say to themselves, like, you know what? I don't think I'm better here. Morales is like, oh, the e5 square. I found an e5 square. And I've annotated games where, I mean, ultimately it's a closed position. The two knights are as good as bishops. Look at those outposts. If only this bishop wasn't so restricted by its own pawns, right? That is not a particular problem that's that easy to solve here. So now Uber Driver, I accept a4 as an option. And only now. With a4, you can blow up his structure. a5 came with a draw offer. Well, yeah, man. Very, very often, you get, like, you sort of suspect, you suspect, like, the draw offers are made because the other guy's afraid. And one interesting thing about the draw offer is, that I found, is people make up their mind to offer a draw, usually, separate from, like, their decision to make a move. So what consequently happens is a lot of times when I offer a draw, I'll make, like, a bad move. Because I just made up my mind I was going to offer a draw. And then I'm, like, looking for a move to play so I can play and offer a draw. And I think subsequently you lose your focus on this concept of offering the draw. And oftentimes, like, you make a stupid move when you offer a draw. a5, I think when you offer a draw, ideally you want to play a move that's kind of neutral. Or you want to play a move that's kind of intimidating. Maybe this is more on the intimidating, like side. Like, he's making progress, and he's going to scare you with the aggressive move. But, I mean, it's a major decision, because here he's now, if his structure falls apart, it falls apart. Like, there's no going back now. If this just falls, it falls. And Black is in trouble. Or if he takes, and you take here, and his structure starts to disintegrate. I don't think it's so clear, though. It looks like he should take. Because if knight takes c4, you have bishop b5. I mean, he has bishop b5. Which definitely doesn't look pleasant. You could always sack the exchange, though. Not something I necessarily want to do, though. Yeah, so a4 is very committal for you as well. I mean, a4 is not a safe move. You could play a3 and just maintain your dark square bind. So what is this a4 b4? This was the game. The game actually continued. He played b4. Wow. He played b4? Really? Wow. So what is his idea after b4? If you play knight takes c4, he has bishop takes a4? Are you serial? That doesn't work. Someone explain to me what's going on. I mean, a5 was a draw. Oh, okay, so I didn't understand where these moves came from. Did I put those moves down? I didn't put in b4 though. So a5 was a draw. I didn't put in b4, knight takes c4. I don't know. I don't remember pushing in b4. I put in a4, I guess. But I don't know how b4 got in there. Did I really make that move? So a5 was a draw. So that was the end of the game. a5 draw. Yeah. So I think you're better after a5, a4. But it's not that easy. It's a complicated position. I'm wrong. I've been wrong before, and I'm going to be wrong again. But at least I'm right about b takes a. That was the best move, apparently. Well, you know, that's not a move you want to play unless you're sure about it, of course. You wouldn't have played a4. I thought maybe a3. The engine hates that. Wow. Knight b6. And then the diagonal of death. Say what you want, though. I still don't think this is such an easy position. I don't think that it's easy to say black is better. And you certainly don't have to play a3 either. How do you make progress on the king's side? It's not that easy. You know, the obvious suggestion would be like rook f3, rook h3, queen h4. Well, I mean, g4 is a radically weakening move, man. You know, you've got to understand. As a player who played the Grand Prix attack a lot, you don't have any obligation to play g4. If you play g4, then you're not going back. You know, there's no taking g4 back. You could play queen h4, you could play rook f3, rook h3, try to induce some weakness in his king side. You don't have to play g4. g4 will expose this diagonal all the way down to h1. You could also take his like light square bishop, and then it wouldn't be as scary anymore. This wouldn't be as scary anymore, and the game would be a little calmer. But yeah, I don't think it's easy to say black is better. But a5 a weird move to play and offer a draw. I guess ultimately maybe he was afraid you were going to beat him to the punch. You know, maybe he really thought like you would beat Uber Driver and play a4. But obviously, you know, you're more likely to focus on the king side. But ultimately, I don't like your idea. You know, I don't think knight e2 is right. You know, personally, maybe those the usual suspect and Plaskett are right about e5. It looks like it's actually better. I mean, I think it's more solid. I would always play it like a Caro-Kann Gurgenidze and do like a6, knight c3, bishop g4. I had this game against Plaskett and against Byron Jacobs years ago in Blitz. In both games I had a good game. I did like e6, bishop f8. I bring my bishop back to this diagonal. Because both of them tried to do like stuff where they were attacking the light, like the dark squares, the opposite of light squares. The dark squares here, like, I don't know, b3, a4, bishop a3, knight a4, or stuff like that. Or d4 and controlling like c5. Hebden, Hodgson, Plaskett, see? Told you. That's about the time when I played Plaskett and Blitz. We played the Blitz game online. And here's Plaskett Ansel from 2000. My Blitz game with we had a Blitz match with Plaskett at one point where we played a number of games. It must have been around 1998, 1998, I think. All right, onward and upward. So Morales is here against Larry Evans. Guys, we're running out of time. Oh my god. Mr. So with a $105 donation today. I just want to reiterate that. The mini feed has been quiet. And we're up to $1,500. We've got basically 3.5 weeks till the World Senior. Yeah, I found Plaska to be very pompous. But he's still a good player. Okay, e4, e6, d4, d5. Morales is playing the French defense. What is the world coming to? Morales, you've lost control of e5 entirely. How old do you have to be to play in the World Senior? You have to be like 50 by the end of the year. Well, I didn't know he wrote a book on the Grand Prix. Hebden should have been the one to write a book on the Grand Prix, probably. Alright, knight c3, bishop e4. Mark never wrote any books. And now f5. Thank you, Uber Driver. Yeah, what was I thinking? Well, I think objectively the classical variation is safer. I did play the World Senior last year when I was 49. This year I'm going to be 50. God, it's sick. I can't believe it. All I know is like one day I'm walking around and I'm like 45, and then like COVID comes and like all this crazy shit happens and I'm 50. It's the weirdest thing, man. I was like, no, 45, it's not so bad. Next thing you know, you turn around and you're like 50. Like, where the hell did like 5 years go? It's insane. It's just crazy, you know? It's just crazy. I was streaming. It was like 2019. I'm like 45. It's okay. It's not so bad. And then boom. And the other thing I realized, like being 30 and being 50 are only separated by like 20 years. Which isn't that long really when you think about it. So like being young and being old are basically not that separated in a sense. It's really weird. Life is short. Okay, so bishop e4, queen g4 was played. Howard Evans, Bob Evans. Okay, so this is a sideline that doesn't really have a great rep. All I know about this is John Watson played the French. That's a long book, Uber Driver. So queen g4. Not a dangerous variation. Knight f6 is, yeah. Antonio, you haven't studied your John Watson? Played the French? What's going on, man? You gotta study the essential sidelines. I really thought about playing the winnower at one point, and I think I played the French maybe 4 games with Black. Hikaru, Volokitin's dad, some other random guy at a tournament, and maybe like one other game is all the French defenses I ever played. You can always ignore knight e7. But I mean, knight f6 is regarded as the best. So he takes here. Now, I don't know anything about this. But the good news is that black hasn't lost any games. Like, seriously, if this is a good move, then this whole variation is kind of stupid, isn't it? Dieterich was 2,600 at his peak. Rigo, Janos, RIP. Farrago, RIP. We lost them both in the last, like, several years. Rigo Janos was an old friend of Bobby Fischer's. One of Bobby's, like, primary contacts. He was a pretty well-connected chess player organizer here. He went way back to Lone Pine days. All right, DTC4, queen takes g7, queen f6. So even this is okay for black. And Farrago was a really, really knowledgeable French player. Or Farrago, I should pronounce Hungarian names correctly at least. Farrago Ivan. Queen f6, knight f6, bishop d2. Okay, at the end of the day, black is about equal, it looks like. But I didn't know this was even a variation. Bishop d2, novelty, knight on g to e2. That move seems reasonable for white, right? I guess bishop d2 is stronger in the sense that it's a direct threat, like white's threatening to win a pawn with knight takes. So Grosspeter and both Hungarians played knight c6. Knight on gd2, now d4 is protected, so there's none of that. And then, I want to play c5 to attack the enemy's center. I want to get my pieces developed. But Morales has a point here. But there's also the Fort Knox style move with bishop d7. You don't necessarily need to play b6 to fianchetto your bishop, right, Uber Driver? So I suppose this can be considered as an alternative to b6. I mean, I was just... I admit, like, this is fine, It does weaken slightly more squares than bishop d7. You definitely don't want to trade your bishop off in a vacuum. I mean, you could consider bishop takes, knight takes, bishop a6, though. I'm afraid we might lose material. Takes, knight takes, and then bishop g5. That's no good. Probably no good. Otherwise, you could try to trade the bishops off. So, alright. a3, go back. Now, how do you decide between d6 and e7? d6 covers c7 in case of knight b5. White played bishop g5. This is kind of artificial. Knight d7. And now castles queenside. I mean, obviously white's structure is better. And you've got to be careful about your pawn. At the same time, black has pretty good control of the center. So I think you're okay. And the position is kind of imbalanced. The G file could be very useful for black here. Well, I mean, I think the thing about the position that defines it is really, since we have balanced material, it's the pawn imbalance. That's the important thing in evaluating this position. Imbalanced pawn structure, semi-weak e-pawn, but the imbalance in pawn structure creates dynamic differences, where you can use different half-open files. The kings can be castled on opposite sides. So now knight g3 castles queenside, so your e-pawn is about to get rounded up by rook e1, it looks like. On the other hand, if white plays rook e1, he's like undeveloping in a sense. And there's still maybe some issues for white. But let's be objective here. If rook e1 threatening knight c4, what do we do? I mean, is the g file enough? You know, we do this rook, bishop f6, knight f6, knight e4. No, you're down a pawn here. I don't want to be down a pawn if I can help it. You can probably draw an opposite color bishop type of situation, but it's not going to be easy. And I'm not guaranteeing that result because you also have the worst pawn structure. So I don't know. I mean, I don't see anything clear. This is not good. Yeah, rook e1 looks problematic to me. But I must have missed something. Computer thinks that black is fully equal here. Wow. We're missing something. We're missing something. There has to be some kind of tactic. Check. Computer really thinks that black has almost full compensation for the pawn here. But I still don't think it's that easy. Alright. But he played bishop b5 instead. Now the problem is g2 is weak. You know, so it's not the same at all. I mean, ultimately, major difference from the other position. And now you're fine. I think now you're fine. I mean, he's got nothing on e4. e4 is super protected. And now black actually has superior control of the center. White has white is superior in 1 out of 4 squares. What strikes me here? Plus his knight is not that good on g3. You've got h5, h4. You suddenly have maybe knight g4. You played rook g4. Asterbait, you've been training with Asterbait for like putting your pieces on like obnoxious squares. So they provoke the opponent into making good moves. Make sure you play forward with your rooks and bishops as much as possible. Not the knights, just the rooks and bishops. Asterbait's favorite strategy. Alright, he induced h3. Just to make sure you can't play knight g4, right? Rook h e1. And now you snapped a pawn. The materialistic Morales. Now he's got the 2 bishops, but you pick off a pawn and a second pawn. Second pawn was tasty. I was looking at bishop e5. But this is a fast game. I mean, it's a blitz game, so we can't overthink it. White has bishop e5. That was his plan. And now he has rook f1 as well. You have king e7, so you're going to hold on. Wow, he doesn't do that either. I mean, so this is the question, and this is the answer. But I was wondering if maybe white has something here. He has, like, rook takes. No. He has d5, maybe. I just thinking out loud. I mean, maybe... Yeah, bishop takes c7 isn't that great. I think that here you're really superior still, but maybe it's okay. I mean, I don't think you're in any trouble, of course, but it's a question if white has enough compensation. But this is really lame by him. He just gives up that bishop, and now what you have is just like a pawn up and a strong bishop. Clear advantage, practically winning for black. Close to winning. That was a really bad decision by white. And then white is just lost. Dropped a piece. Okay. Alright. So we got Mr. Slow's second game now. We got one more game coming up. Vienna, India against El Rosador. So Mr. Slow game number 2. I don't know if this is a winner or loss for Mr. Slow, but we're going to look at it from his opponent's perspective. Oh, we actually annotated the game. Not only do we have a Mr. Slow game, we have an annotated Mr. Slow game. 15 plus 0 Sloth Rapid Arena. Mr. Slow berserking because he's known for his speed and sudden death time controls. And then C5. This would be cool if more people would like... This wasn't annotated by Mr. Slow. This was annotated by Resonance Spectator, by the way. But it would be cool if more people would do this, and we could in addition to mocking people's blogs, I can also mock like people's annotations. I would never do that. I can critique your annotations, mock blogs, and critique annotations. All right. So Mr. Slow playing white. Now, Mr. Slow, against me, in the classical Sicilian, you played like bishop c4. But here, his opponent is new to the Najdorf. All right. White plays h3. Well, there's a big difference between the Caro and the Najdorf. Yeah. He was a sharp Caro player. Very different openings. The Caro Con, it never agrees with me. As much as I want it to work, I can't play it worth a damn. I'm a terrible Caro Con player. I'm a good Sicilian player and a terrible Caro Con player. It's just not dynamic enough for me. It's not counterattacking. So h3, okay, it's the best move is e5, as always. But it's not the only move. I mean, of course, it's possible to play e6 and transpose to my Scheveningen with Edward Gufeld. I had this game I shared once a couple years ago. Somewhere I dug out my score sheet against Gufeld and shared it. It was actually a Scheveningen move order, but he later played like g4 and h3. It was probably a transposition. But okay, e5 is best. Knight on d to e2, and now bishop e7. So I'm not an authority here. I know h5 is... This is a modern... Sorry, h6 has been played. Wow. That was a mouse slip. h5 is a modern idea. Chess influencers. Maybe they wrote a blog about it, Resonance Spectator. You can check out the latest blogs on lichess about how to beat superior players. It's really deep. Damn, I wish I had had a blog about how to beat like stronger players. I wouldn't have been... I would have been a GM by now if I had had that all along. It's unbelievable. All the answers are in there. Just have to get anal beads. Or get better at chess. I mean, bishop e7 seems like a totally the most natural move in the world, but you're just like ignoring what white's doing. If you think about it, white played h3. You made him move his knight, but he still just played h3. That's his first attacking kind of move. So he's either going to play like g4 or g3, possibly f4. Possibly knight g3 now that you made him move his knight back. And by the way, like white could play knight b3 or knight f3 as well. This transposes. This is a good like anti-Mark Esserman move. I mean, because h3 kind of fits in with the knight f3 type of setups. Knight b3 played quite a bit as well. But the main idea here, I guess, is coming into g3. and also perhaps supporting like f4. So I guess the problem with bishop e7 is that you're just kind of not like dealing with his idea of g4 at all. So he goes g4, right? No, h5 is theory. It's modern theory. But is b5 good? If b5, g4, b4, knight d5. Yeah, I mean, I think with black needs to consider these b5 lines as well. I don't think it's necessary, like you have to play h5. b5 is a reasonable alternative. You're kind of like preempting him on the long diagonal here. I remember looking at that with someone. Yeah, don't write that in the chat. Just do as I say, not as I do. Don't put that in the chat. No, I'm just joking about like Anand's like crushing victory against Esserman. Esserman always like brags about how he drew Anand, but did you guys ever see the game where he like got slaughtered? It would make a good like blog video. How to crush an opponent with like no strategic understanding, who only like can play tactics. How to beat a superior player by just like taking tactics out of the game and playing a simple strategic game. How to beat a one-dimensional chess player. Alright, knight on g to e2, bishop e7, g4, shots fired, b5. The problem with this, okay, your move is a little late. The right idea, but is g5 dangerous? It's like the Candyman. If you say it like 4 times in front of the mirror. I'm giving him too much airtime by just even saying his name. But I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. You know, he pops up every time I think about, like, what was the last person I remember who got slaughtered, like, unbelievably badly in the sort of, like, quiet Najdorf. And every time I see this position, I just think of Esserman and Anand. It wasn't this exact position, I don't remember, but he's, like, the poster child for, like, you know, someone you beat with, like, simplistic positional play. Imagine you playing a Najdorf player who wants, like, real tactics. And you just want to kill them with no tactics. You just play, like, knight f3 in the Najdorf, and it's, like, game over. I can't imagine, like, Leko playing, like, Mark Esserman or something. It would probably be even worse than Anand. Okay, bishop e7. It would be a draw. That Leko gives everyone draws now. b5, g5, and now knight f d7. So this square is temporarily abandoned. I'm not sure though if white should play g5 or not. The problem is, like, I would assume bishop g2 might transpose back to some kind of known variation. He was a bit cocky. Dude, he was a bit cocky in like 1998 when he came to visit Harvard with his parents. And I happened to be, like, standing there at the chess cafe, not knowing who the fuck this guy is. But it's pretty scary when you're cocky, when you're, like, a 2100 player, and you're, like, beating on, like, the random, like, 1800s in the chess cafe, like you're a god or something. That was the first I ever saw of the guy. You know, I mean, that was, like... It's a bad sign when you're cocky before you're good. You know what I mean? Like, that's... I saw the very first instance of him in his behavior, you know, early on. Just by complete coincidence. I never went to Harvard Square around 1998, almost ever. I was busy, like, teaching chess and doing other stuff, and I just happened to be at the Aubampa cafe when Esserman rolled in with his mommy and daddy, and he was like checking the school out to see if he wanted to go to Harvard or whatever. It just was a total coincidence. I was literally like never there. I was standing outside like smoking cigarettes and noticed this like really obnoxious like teenager challenging the local 1800s, and he was already like behaving like that. Not a good look. All right, but I don't have a grudge or anything. It's just kind of amusing, He was pre-programmed to be cocky and arrogant. I didn't think he would be a strong player, to be honest. But I've been wrong about a lot of people. He's not a very strong player, but I didn't think he would get as far as he did. I didn't think Hikaru would be a world-class player either. You assume like their personalities might get in the way. Okay, anyway, off. I'm distracted. But G5, knight of D7, H4, Mr. Slow playing white. And now I assert my dominance against the 1800s in the Aubampa. You're like crushing homeless 1800s and acting cocky about it to impress your mom and dad. Bishop B7. Yeah, I mean, Mr. So doesn't counter the diagonal, which seems a little weird to me. That's a lot of annotations. I can't go through all the annotations for now. Spent some time training in Russia, oh brother. He probably like borrowed that from Josh Whiteskin or something. I'm sorry I started this conversation again. I can't help it, it was the position. But knight G3, and F5 square. Resident Spectator seems to play the openings pretty well. So now Mr. Slow really has no alternative. But I mean, B4 is a move that like you don't make if knight D5 is strong, The problem is black's bottled up. I mean, we need to get developed here, and I don't like knight F5. And obviously he's going to stick his knight on D5. So you better have something good there. My first instinct is probably, to like play G6 because I'm terrified of knight F5. My second instinct is to play knight on BD7 because I'm terrified we're like not developing our pieces. And my third instinct would be knight C6 with the same basic idea, although this doesn't have much future necessarily from C6. And that's totally lying. He was always friendly with me, but he reminded me of my dentist. He looked just like my old dentist. B4, knight D5, takes, he takes D5, and then knight D7. So we've got two invasive species acts here. I wouldn't want to be like black against Anatoly Karpov. White has a kind of spatial clamp. And white shouldn't have castled. I'm not sure what Karpov would do with white. Would have done in his prime. Let's say late 70s, Anatoly Karpov with white. Be interesting. Yeah, I mean, castles isn't the sharpest move. in the shed. Black isn't using much time though, and Mr. Slow berserked, and so he's got to play faster. I agree, it seems counterintuitive, but on the other hand, like, well, where is he going to put his king? You know, is he going to castle queenside, bishop e3? Maybe a queen move. Did somebody say queen e2? The d5 pawn can get weak. So, I mean, this is kind of like default move, I would think. But black can also just play like rook c8. And what's going to happen when the knight jumps into f5? I don't think it's easy for white to castle queenside. I don't know what to do with white's king, to be honest. But the other question, I don't understand what's happening like on knight f5. You're going to have to either retreat your bishop back to f8 or castle. I guess you could play g6 theoretically, because this like loses a piece, you know. I don't want any jokes about Esserman and the Mora Gambit in 86 and stuff. So, yeah. Here, so Mr. So kind of hesitates there with the castle's king side. Now black plays a really sharp move. I was thinking like safety, but Resident Spectator goes off with the h6. This is not a move that's about like king safety at all. This is like the opposite. This is like, I'm just going to attack regardless of the fact that my king is still just sitting on e8. I guess in a certain mood I might have seen this move, but it was definitely not my first. My default would be to castle and probably evaluate what to do after that. I mean, knight f5 is really pretty nasty, though. It's going to be hard to get it out of there. And once we allow that in there, we might be in trouble. To be, honest, I might have played g6 if I were black here. I'm so concerned about knight f5, and that's the only way to stop it. I mean, white can play f4, but it's like a Scheveningen, kind of. I'm not sure how bad this is, necessarily, for black. Although it feels like white might be better. This is a really dynamic move. h6. And now, I guess, fancy moves like g6 aren't really possible. So he takes back. Yeah, it seems surprising now. The more we look at it, he jumps into f5. Now there is counterplay. Well, black asked for this. So what was the plan? I mean, you must have anticipated this coming in here. I mean, this has got to be an option, right? What about g6? I mean, seriously. These pawns could be rounded up. But eventually, we keep his knight off of f5, and you can play maybe knight f6. I don't know. Maybe it's all too slow. This is scary, though. So I really didn't anticipate this. Bishop f8, and he just like undevelops. Peter says knight f6. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we have to preserve our dice square bishop. I'm thinking about even castling queenside at this point. I think you have an advantage in being able to possibly castle queenside in emergency. But I don't like the fact that our pieces aren't getting out of the barn, you know. And now it is. Queen f6, bishop h3. Bishop h3 looks like a good move, but d5's hanging. But I mean, what's white supposed to play? I guess just knight e3. But knight e3 drops the... okay, he has queen h5, actually. Queen h5, queen g6, perhaps. Black is okay. I'm okay, you're okay. Where is my king going to go after g6? Well, as I said, you have options. I mean, you got to keep all your options available. You could castle queenside for all I know. I'm not saying it's good. I don't know, you know. Keep your options open as long as possible. It's not traditional to castle queenside in the Sicilian. I mean, I did it like the last tournament. I had this game where I castled queenside on like move 7 with black. I don't think I've ever even seen anyone castle queenside. I think I might have done the fastest castles queenside in the Sicilian I've ever seen. It's pretty crazy. King h2, bishop takes d5. Mr. Slow, you know, sacrifices a pawn, but he's got good development here. Castles queenside in this position, not good. And then the hesitant rook f2 move. But he has to defend c2. There's no other option. So suddenly, like, the black pieces are kind of... How did those black pieces get coordinated? Okay, your bishop on f8 is utterly buried, but it is a good defender. So who needs castling anyway? The game could have continued like this. 0-1, white resigns. No. Bishop takes f5. Oh, so Mr. Slow is hanging his knight. He played queen f3 with the knight hanging in the first place. You guys didn't play careful chess here. Let me see. Black's winning. So queen f3 is like too much. But apparently he's already gone too far. Starting with bishop h3. Mr. Slow pointed out queen g4. I was looking at queen h5. It's not as good though, because of rook g8 again. So queen g4 was best. Yeah. I mean, black's position looked crazy at first, but suddenly everything like gelled. Bishop e6 is best move. And unfortunately, like, pawn takes pawn just trades queens, which doesn't do anything for white. This isn't going to help him whatsoever, you know, trading queens. He's just going to be a pawn down with the queens off the board. So can he win the piece back with pawn takes pawn? That's what he was hoping. I have to admit, like, I completely missed queen h4 as well. When you look at this position, you're thinking about like this being a check. That's the overriding like feature of the position to me. I was completely missing. To be honest, like, I was completely missing the entire concept of queen h4. Black was very slippery here. Where did this all come from? But Mr. Slow shouldn't have berserked. Personally, I think berserking was a mistake in this time control for him. Queen h4, queen f5, you know, against another player who's similarly rated. Unless the other player is guaranteed to berserk as well. So you just got mated. For some guilty reason, I enjoy games where I haven't castled. Not Mr. Slow's best game. All right, we're gonna go on to the last game here. One beer and I'm drunk and I'm tired and I've had a hard day and I'm gonna complain some more about the bad blogs that I hate. Asterbait just tipped $4.88 to even it out. Did you miss, Master B? Did you miss? I have this thing now where like Skype and Twitch send you notifications that you have no notifications. Is that annoying or is it just me? I just got a notification that you're all caught up. What a pro. Okay, that's annoying. Antonio, take care, man. I've got to go too. This is my last game. Yeah, Skype is a dinosaur at this point. I still use it. I got Zoom. I've got to do a business call tomorrow on Zoom, which I never use because I don't have like a office style job. Okay, this is Vinay India with white against Rosador, who's playing very well. He said he's going to the European Club Cup, which is very cool. What did he say? European Club Cup. Did he say? What did he say? I don't remember where he said it was being held. Somewhere in Europe. Thanks, man. Albania. Okay, Albania. Oh no, another Kopeck Sicilian. Okay, so it doesn't seem like this is as effective. Totally different style position from the other one. No, but okay, e5. We have to play e5 here. No, I mean, dude, there was an article in BBC the other day about how you should go to Albania rather than Croatia or Greece. Like, for what you get, it's just way better. The other places are just way too crowded and overrated. Albania is supposed to be really nice. I mean, the thing is that Albania used to be a very kind of totally closed country. Alright, bishop d3, d5, e takes d5. Yeah, this is a huge mistake. Basically, you have to play e5 here and go into this French type of position. And now you have to make sure that your e5 pawn can be supported enough. I don't really like the acerbate request to be anodized. Acerbate has been analyzed with 488. Dude, what's with 488? You were trying to make it even, but you failed? You made it 1505.10. I thought you were trying to make it even. We have 10 cents in the kitty. 10 cents extra. We're 1505.1. 488. Anyway, okay, bishop c2 looks normal. We can support that with d4. If black can't stop it. So c4. This is a variation. This looks like a problem. That means that the whole variation is bad. So what's the moral of the story here? If you play the c3 Sicilian, it's not the Kopeck system. You should play proper chess at the end of the day, boys and girls, and play e5. That's all there is to it. I'm not a big fan of the Kopeck system as much as Yabatis wants to play it. It just doesn't look too good. It looks like d5 is actually black's best move here. Yeah, I had a game against Kopeck once in Rapid where we got into... I think he did it against me in the standard like knight c6 type position. And I must have done something like this. I think I played d5 pretty early. I did this, basically. But I didn't know to play like c4, so I probably got a substandard position. But Kopech was a decent IM. Not very strong, but not weak either. Okay, e6, here. This is not a great variation. And but after d5, I think like this is definitely better. So pawn takes pawn. I don't know. I'm a little bit skeptical of this. I mean, first of all, black can just play pawn takes pawn, and really not clear what this bishop is doing on d3. We're gonna have to move it again. That's what happened in the game. But in addition, black can also take with the queen, which is a tempo. Croatian Grandmaster Bubanic. Having black here in a game, where his opponent played queen e2, but there's something very artificial about this for white. You're not going to get around like having to move your bishop another time somewhere. Okay, it's probably not that bad. Knight takes is also good. I'm surprised that that's not played. Threatening knight f4, by the way. So this is not easy to deal with as well. I wouldn't be surprised if knight takes is a good move. Wow, surprisingly castles. The computer thinks that white is slightly better. Equal. The edge's preference is for e5, but I'm not here to regurgitate what the computer said. Alright, e takes d5, e takes d5, castles. I would play castles. The point is, like, on c4 you have check, and you can bring your bishop back to either f1 or e2 or c2. Instead we see bishop e5 check. Now the problem is, this is your good bishop, theoretically. With the pawn on c3, pawn on b2, we're usually playing d4. White has a weakness on the light squares, generally speaking. So, at the end of the day, you don't want to trade your light square bishop off for the enemy light square bishop. Or anything, for that matter, smaller than a rook. And if you do, you should probably put your pawn on d3 to try to mop up the weakness on the light squares. So ultimately, like, this is a waste of time. Plus, you don't really want to trade that piece off. So you should castle. Definitely castle here and play rook e1 quickly and try to use the open file. Instead, you played bishop e5 check. So basically, white has lost the tempo. Now, black played knight c6, and this is not the only move. Black should consider bishop d7 because this is a good exchange for black strategically in a French type of structure. So I think like queen e2 check, bishop e7. Let's say castles. Bishop takes d7, knight takes d7. Maybe white, honestly, should consider not putting the pawn on d4, but put the pawn on d3 in this type of structure. Yeah, you could play a4, move 11, but I think it's not a position where we really need to be making any more pawn moves than we already have. I wouldn't mind it if I hadn't played c3. It's already like bishop d3, bishop e5 check, c3. We need to develop our pieces here. So I don't really think like it's appropriate to play the Bogo Indian in combination with like bishop d3 and c3. But knight c6 is more aggressive in a sense. Black's not even like settling for an exchange of bishop for bishop. And this would be really extreme. Knight d7. That's plausible, although it would block black up a bit. It gets a little too much. So castles, bishop e7, and now d4. And then I think like now white has a reasonable game. Bishop d7 was better than knight c6. Castles. And here white has this pawn on d4. You don't really want to trade your bishop if you're going to have a pawn on d4. So I think the question is what to do. Take on c5 is a really reasonable option. Essentially transposing to this essentially transposes to a type of Tarrasch French. Look at that. Suddenly 2 gains popped up. Elizabeth Pates versus Muzishuk. The older Anna. Or is that the older one? I don't remember now. I can't remember now. I played the older one. But maybe it's not. Maybe I can't remember. It's so long ago. Bishop takes c5. Anyway, that transfers to French Tarrasch. This is kind of random. Bishop f4. Yeah, her dad is a grandmaster, so that doesn't hurt. That's kind of like the... That's not a random coincidence. You know, having a dad grandmaster doesn't hurt. d4 castles. Bishop f4. Little known fact. He's not a particularly strong grandmaster. He kind of barely eked out the title. I once I was with Charlie Hertan in Vienna, and he was pissed. He had an IM norm if he didn't lose against Thomas Bates, but he lost. Poor Charlie. You have an IM norm in the bag, and you lose to a Bateser. But yeah, that was the end of Charlie's IM attempt. Castles. Anyway, I'm drifting. Bishop f4 is a weird square. I mean, I think you either go here and you like force black to decide what to do with the pawns. You take here, or alternatively, you like put your bishop on g5 where you're playing for an exchange of these bishops, and ultimately you would bring it back to like g3. I want to just say that like this e4 square is good for black. Black has a knight in f6. In the Tarrasch Queen's Gambit, it's usually on e7. Queen's Gambit. The Tarrasch French, it's usually on e7. So the fact that black has access to that e4 square gives him pretty active chances in an IQP type position. Huerta y Huerto. Bishop g4. Uh-oh. I smell a miscalculation coming on. Someone blundered pawn takes pawn here. Yeah, so this would have been some situation where, you know, you could play h3, but it weakens the king's side. I would advocate taking on c5, allowing bishop takes, and doing what Lizzie did, Lizzie Borden. You know, what's up with queen b6 though? Seriously, here. There was a game. Well, this guy with white's pretty good. That's interesting. Got to be careful with all these like squares. F2, B2. The knight coming to E4, as I said, kind of improved Tarrasch. Maybe bishop E3 is a good idea. But ultimately, the bishop doesn't really belong on B5. That normally comes back. It's like a Lovecraft story. Pet Cemetery. Bloodlines. Sometimes they come back. The bishop is coming back to E2. Bishop F4, bishop G4, knight on BD2, boom. Now, there's an in-between move, just in case you didn't notice. Black could play pawn takes pawn. That's the question we're all dying to have answered. What happens if black did that? Bishop takes pawn and white wins the exchange. Oh. Oh no. The rook's trapped. I can't believe it. Wow. So it didn't work. And then white luckily doesn't have to sacrifice a pawn. So now we have Pretty good situation. The pawn structure is fixed, and our knights are okay. But black is fine too. Black has the bishop pair, queen b6, knight b3. And then here. And that pin is getting really annoying at this point. So I'm not sure about this. And we have no choice, but I would really like to get out of the pin. I think that white should put high priority on getting out of this pin. So how about queen c2? How about the radical queen c1? How about queen b3? Because at the end of the day, this structure is not so bad. I mean, it happens a lot. You could open up the file here. Queen b3 is a valid move. The new Pet Sematary prequel is getting hammered by like critics and stuff in all the YouTube videos and stuff I've seen. It features David Duchovny. The X-Files fans have to watch it. But it does seem very repetitive to do another Pet Sematary prequel. Really? That's the best they could come up with? Alright. It does seem kind of lame. I'm not excited about that. I don't know, some kind of movie. But all these people that do film reviews are like jumping on it. I'm not enthusiastic. Alright, knight b3. This is not good. You left this pin kind of unanswered here. And covering your b pawn by moving your knight again, I don't think is a good answer. You gotta solve this problem in another way. Knight b3 is not great. This is strong. Now black seems to have the upper hand, particularly with the bishop pair and the pin. However, pawn structure not favorable for black. h3, that doesn't change anything. You don't want to play g4 here. You're going to get blasted by f5 later on. So you still didn't solve the pin. Rook c1, rook a c8. That's a kind of passive move by Rossador. I don't love it, but I don't know what exactly he should do. There's radical move like g5. No, if he does g5, he's probably going too far. Like g4 knight h2 or something. White could easily get the advantage. He doesn't want to go crazy, but this is a serious annoyance. What about a5? Should Rossador maybe not play rook c8 and focus on counterattacking rather than defending? Well, there was that recent movie, The Voyage of the Demeter or whatever, which was like a prequel to Dracula, where there was just like one chapter where the vampires on the ship on its way to London or whatever, they got absolutely destroyed by a lot of critics. I'm kind of like a sci-fi horror fan, but I mean, the movie got absolutely destroyed by the critics, but Stephen King and Guillermo del Toro said they liked it, so I don't know. Rook c8 is not great. Now you broke the pin. Now he plays a5. Yeah, no, after Nosferatu. I liked there's a Nosferatu movie coming out, with Willem Dafoe. I'm really anxiously optimistic that it might not be bad. Seeing Willem Dafoe play Nosferatu again after his I think pretty decent movie years ago with John Malkovich. Yeah. Well, he was good in the other movie. That was more of a comedy, kind of, almost. That was a weird movie, typical of Malkovich. Which, oddly enough, you can't, find very easily. A5, knight e5, a4, boom. This is a mistake? Really? Well, black has an odd move, queen a7. and then the knight would be trapped on f8. So that threat is there, but what is white to do about it? Just come back? I guess we just come back. Threaten the e4. If this drops, I guess white has resources. Could play here. But I don't know about queen a3. It's unclear. There's a lot of stuff going on. c6 is weak. Both sides have weaknesses. White really got lucky with rook c8. I mean, that move wasn't great for black. If he wanted to play a5, he should have played it right away. And again, on queen d3, what about like bishop g6? I mean, that's not a move. So it seems like Rossiter wasn't playing his best here. a5, knight e5, and now you got out of the pin. There's no bishop g6, a4, and then you jump the gun a little bit here, missing the tactic queen a7. Black misses it as well. So what's the point now? We can take on f8. You can take on f8. It's scary though, because like black is taking this and threatening pawn takes a2. So the point is you have what? Some kind of in-between move? I mean, is f3 a thing? There's something with f3. I was thinking f3, black could just go there, defending h7. a3, but then queen b7. Oh man, and you have to see g4. I mean, this wasn't easy to see. He has to see that he has g4 at the end, you know, winning the piece back. That was pretty tough. And that's the only reason why this is really a mistake. So instead, white just played this, and now black trades on c5. It's a strong knight, but I'm not sure that the knight on c5 is worth giving up or not. The dark square bishop, it's probably fine. It's not a bad move for black. The question is, does black have anything better? You know, maybe like here. Maybe black can try something else. So he takes, rook takes, queen b2. Oh, this is a really long game. I forgot how long this game was. Yeah, I'm just going to go through this a little faster because this is the last game and I'm late. So you got this ops color bishop ending. Yeah, this is interesting. So black is up a pawn plus the a pawn is a little weak. And a3 got a double question mark, but I mean, geez. What are you going to do? I mean, you're facing bishop e2. Yeah, he blundered here. So you gotta not lose any more material. You have to play rook c2 or queen c2. But it's not an easy game. I mean, I would think like there's really good chances for this to be a draw. Ultimately, black doesn't have a passed pawn. And your weaknesses aren't that bad. Your white square weaknesses aren't that bad. You could play f3 to nullify the bishop a bit. I think your chances of holding a draw are very, very good. Pretty good. He just blundered in exchange and black missed it. Black was playing pretty quickly. Routine move here. Missing bishop e2, and then it's a game again. Yeah, so you don't want to take, I don't think, and give him a chance to create a more easy passed pawn there. Although objectively, yeah, I don't like bringing that pawn to b5. The pawn is going to be stronger on b5 than it is on c6. So this is a reasonable move, or anything, but I mean, probably not queen d2 to allow, like this is reasonable. You got to be careful there's no crazy mates, some sort of sacrifice or something. But white doesn't have an attack yet. So I think you should probably like hunker down here. Rook c3. I'm not sure you're doing yourself any favors by just randomly attacking his queen. You're probably like forcing black to put his queen on another good square. Ultimately, just don't attack things for the sake of attacking them. Trade queens, go rooks, and go bishop d6. I know move 11, but I was thinking about that. And the thing is, like, if he does that, I'm seeing, like, on the horizon the classic kind of endings with... I'm seeing on the horizon really very scary situations where ultimately we're going to be like, you know what we're going to be facing, right? This sort of b4, maybe even an exchange sack. I talked about this in one lecture series on Chess Lecture years ago. I mean, I'm not saying that this is a win necessarily for black, but this is the kind of position where you can really get tortured. I don't think this is a improvement necessarily. I would think like there's very good chances for black to win here. But I agree that it's an option. It's definitely an option if you like a more simplified type of endgame. I agree with move 11. It's totally viable. So we get to this position now. And this is an extra pawn. Pass pawn. Someone has a pass pawn. And it's going to be protected by the bishop on g6. It's pretty scary. Luckily we control c1. We can play rook c1. I mean, no, you have some chances for blockade here. This isn't easy at all for black to get through that d2 blockade. Although the pawn is pretty far advanced. Rook a8 is a nightmare for black to have to play that. Oh, no. And then it's just a draw. It should be a draw now. There's no way that like black can force like a mate or something here. Can he? Can he? Rook b4, rook b8. Greedy, greedy, greedy. Scooby Snacks. Really greedy. Rudy, Rudy, Rudy. I mean, rook b4 is possible. I was thinking trading pieces. You gotta decide if you're playing for a win or a draw. It's important to know what you're doing. With rook takes c4, I was really afraid of this. I'm just struggling to see the defense. What am I missing here? Oh, the king's just going to go up. Oh my god. That's a row. The king is just going to go up. Yeah, I mean, I have to admit, like, it's hard not to blame Russell. He thought he was winning, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoops. The king could go up here. It's incredibly hard to checkmate the white king on a dark square on g3. But white could have played various moves in this position. Oh, there's the really nasty queen g5, threatening rook h8 check. That's the idea. Oh, that's brutal. If you go here, you're threatening rook h8, and then the computer, like, you know, tactic with queen h6 and mate. I don't know, Uber Driver might have seen this. But even there, I mean, black has like f6 or whatever. It's still not that simple. Black has to kind of fall for this. Magnus World Championship style. Gangnam style. Check. King g3. Oh my gosh. Always make sure there's another check. You might want to keep your eyes open for rook h3 too. Never know. Well, needless to say, I mean, black has 40 seconds left, but, you know, he's facing a very daunting endgame with 40 seconds left here. Although, objectively, it might be a draw. It's not easy, and he has no time left, and he's basically messed up. So, After queen d3 check, f3, and there's no more checks except for rook h3, right? Black's just winning. But sadly he played bishop e3. That does what? It allows him to pop up here. So he takes pressure off of g7, allowing black to pop up. That's cool. It's like the time that I had Curto with king on h3 against king. Curto and I had king on h3, king h6 in the Dutch. The only game I ever lost to him last game, like 2000. That was funny, but this is the similar idea where we're both popped up to g3 and g6. And you need the bishop on d4 to mate him there. Wow. So he can defend. Could have just defended it directly. That was an epic game, though, for Vinay India, who was only rated 1867, playing against 2260. He put up a huge fight. And he's willing to draw here. Don't tell me, like, there's some kind of trick. He missed something. Queen c3 check. Queen c3 check? Oh, you've got this now. So you have to go back to e3. Queen c7 check. Bishop f4. So black's holding on there. But instead he plays queen f6. Bishop e3 double question mark. Rook g1. Now it's black's turn. This is funny. Oh, the queen h6 check, yeah. Thanks for pointing that out. That's funny how both sides have these tricks that are like identical, and then he walked into queen f3. Yeah, that's a really bad blunder, because it's not just one tactic, there are two. Wow. So you had mate into check, king f5. Why is it mate into? What am I missing here? Oh, this isn't mate into. Sorry, it was mate into for black. No, this is a long variation. Queen f4 check, king g6. Queen e4, and you win a piece. Man, that's so sad. He just didn't see queen h6, period. And he was winning with it. And it's ironic that black has the identical type of stuff. Rook g2. This is also crushing, of course. Man, brutal. Yeah, that was a crazy game. Really long game, too. Typical ops color bishops. Thank you guys for supporting the stream. Strem. From the Black Forest in Germany. Drinking Czech beer. And mocking blogs. We're off till tomorrow morning. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Thank you all. I hope you enjoyed the hat of Dieterich Blagmacher. It's a band. It was a band. Jesse, bro. All right. Move 11, you're welcome. Thank you guys for supporting the stream. Mr. Slow, $105. Shout out to Mr. Slow. Thank you guys, all of you, for your support. Move 11, Mr. Slow, Asterbait, gifters. Thanks, everybody. Friday morning, 11:30 a.m. tomorrow, Central European summertime. We will see you then. Anyway, I need a haircut, so the hat is good. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Hello. Bye-bye.